Hi, everyone.
Wait. Recording as Zencaster.
Well,
We're live.
already.
Well, wait, it's okay. Wait. Okay, go on.
Okay, so we have been waiting for Imam Tawhidi, and he has yet to arrive. So we thought we would just have a public Q&A session with everybody. So just ask us your questions, talk to us about your concerns, all your hopes and dreams. Faisal, why don't you introduce who the hosts are?
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Here we go.
So we're waiting for the Imam. The Imam is probably flying from Raqqa, so he might be delayed.
In his Barak.
Yeah, in his Barak. So we're probably going to get delayed for a while.
He won't hear this anyway.
While he gets checked in Syrian International Airport. And today we have it's been a while, by the way. I miss you guys. It's been about 9 to 11 days since we had the last conversation.
My God.
So today we have, I'm your host, Faisal al-Baghdadi. There are some news recently that the leader of ISIS got killed, even though it's from Russian news, so nobody believes it. But if he is killed, so people should pledge to me, considering that I'm the only viable replacement to him as the secular caliphate of Iraq and Syria.
And you joke about it, but you are genuinely a Baghdadi, right? You're from Baghdad.
I'm from Baghdad, yes. So and I
Faisal
was
Ali
born
al
in
Baghdadi.
So if either Baghdadi could be the next caliphate. So 2020, please vote for me. Today we have the usual suspects. We have Ali Rizvi, the author of The Atheist Muslim. Ali recently did an interview with Josh Seps that is already public. The people should check it out. Talking about circumcision and Islam, and then mixed with circumcision and Islam.
Yeah, guys, check it out. It's We the People Live, Josh Seps. Great podcast, by the way. Great podcast. I like it. It's fun.
I write the podcast 7-7. And we have Yasmin Muhammad. Everyone loves Yasmin. She's awesome. Yasmin is the author of Confessions of an Ex-Muslim. By the way, do you have any news when your book is going to...
Oh, about my book? No, I'm in conversation with a literary agent right now, but I don't have anything to report on my book yet.
Cool. I mean, if anyone is watching literary agent or has a recommendation for Yasmin, please do so. We would love to see Yasmin's book. And thank you very much. There we have this guy. I don't know what the fuck. He's in the middle. What the hell is this? Who's this? Some Farsi dude. Hi, Kushari, Shatori, Sistani, Khamenei. So Armin is wearing some weird clothing, celebrating the Pride Month, and he is also.
Do you have your rainbow Quran with you, Armin? The rainbow Quran?
No, I'm not in Vancouver right now.
He's not. Yeah, undisclosed location. We're not going to talk about where he is.
So I mean, I'm gonna disclose it. Armin is right now with his Balak headquarters in southern Lebanon.
Oh, okay, that's so much better. That's actually better than the real thing.
And Armin is the CEO of Atheist Republic, one of the biggest pages.
Founder. CEO is Ali.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
Not this. Not me, Ali. Another ALLIE.
Another Ali.
Yeah.
There are only two Alis in the world. He's the founder of Atheist Republic. Should we announce any of our trips together, or should I skip that?
Well, now that you mentioned it, you can't just leave it.
Okay,
hanging.
so guys, we're gonna be in Chicago by the end of this month. 27th, I think, to July. If you guys wanna, maybe if we have some free time, message us. Maybe we can create a hangout, or we can do a small speech, or we can meet with you and build some friendships that will last until the next terrorist attack.
Until the next life. And
that's not very long.
I also want to just mention that on this Friday, I'll be going to New York City on Saturday is the Muslimish conference in New York City at Hunter College, where I am going to be speaking alongside Sarah Haider and a few other really good speakers. And this is about secular enlightenment in the Muslim communities, or secular thought in the Muslim community, something like that. I'll figure it out.
So please check out muslimish.com, I think, for the schedule. So let's get to the questions. What do you have, Yasmin? Are you watching the YouTube chat?
I am. I'm reading the questions.
I don't see anything, by the way. How can I access this shit?
Oh,
post the link if you can.
I'll send you. We're very professional operation here. Okay, I pasted it for you in the Hangout chat.
Okay.
All right. I look at this too.
So it's all questions about the Imam.
Yeah, mute it.
Yeah, you have to mute it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with double whammy going on. So all the questions are about the Imam so far, about the Imam Tawhidi. Some comments about how cute my top is. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, and I think someone's talking about my vaping that I'm sucking so hard.
Oh,
it's just
okay.
Yeah.
Some comments about how cute Armin's accent is. Oh, that's adorbs.
So let's see. Let's go to the last question.
Yeah, it's mostly about the Imam. They're questioning his.
Okay, let's talk about.
Yeah.
No, I mean, should we? Because some of the questions are personal. Like, I mean, would you rather let's see if he.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Renee.
She asked.
Yeah, Renee has a general question.
Are Shia discriminated in Sunni majority countries where they're actually considered second-class citizens, vice versa? I guess Faisal, you'd be the best person to answer that since you lived in a country.
Yeah,
the countries we're all from were either predominantly Shia or predominantly Sunni, but yours was a bit both.
There are two types of people in the world. There are real Muslims and there are Shias. So Shias live generally as minority in a minority status, except in Iran. So they used to be when Saddam was in power. They used to be not having control over the government until the Iraq War. So they used to be also to some extent discriminated against, even though some people dispute that, saying that when it comes to Saddam, it's not about Sunni or Shias, how much you're aligned to him. But anyway, Shias have generally been victims of many ISIS attacks. I mean, that's and also, I mean, according to many of the Salafist, Wahhabist ideology, they consider Shias to be kuffar, and it's justified to kill them. There is a major book that has been the manual of Al Qaeda in Iraq, AQI, called The Management of Savagery, Karnaji, which is an Al Qaeda manual that's made its way around that justifies killing Shias. So that's actually one of the things that many people ask when they say, many of the victims of ISIS are Muslims, therefore ISIS is not Islamic. That's bullshit, because according to ISIS, Shias are not Muslims. So according to somebody who's an outsider, they say, well, ISIS is killing Shias, therefore ISIS is not Islamic. But they forget that there is an ideology within hardcore Sunni Islam that's called takfirism, in which you can declare even those who are Muslims, quote unquote, or claim to be Muslim, to be kuffar. So that's actually one of the things that apologetics mostly use to say that, many victims of ISIS are Muslims, therefore ISIS is not Islamic or ISIS is not Muslim. They forget that many of the victims of ISIS attacks are Shias and other religions, other sects. So yes, I mean, generally speaking, Shias have been discriminated against across history and across Muslim world in general. In Pakistan, Ali can probably speak about this as well. There has been many terrorist attacks against them. In Iraq, there's almost every terrorist attack every week against them. And in Lebanon, they have been kind of gaining strength after the rise of Hezbollah, which is also terrible, right? So it's not. So many people when it comes to Shia Islam, I think people also forget that oppressed people can be oppressors as well. While it's true that Shias have been discriminated against through history and the present time at the same time, but in many cases, many Shia states, and that's where Armen come from, the state of Iran is considered one of the most oppressive state sponsor of terrorism probably the same as Saudi Arabia. So even though Shias have been discriminated against, there can also be oppressors at the same time. So that's my final answer.
Can I comment about Shiism? Actually, being victims is built within the ideology of Shia Islam. Ever since Hussein. Yes, ever since Hussein was killed, even Ali not being robbed of his leadership until the very end, and very shortly after being killed, and then his son Hussein being killed by the Yazid, the Khalifa at the time. So Shias, before the Islamic Revolution of Iran, it was within the Shia ideology that they should never be in power until Imam Mahdi, which is the hidden Imam, come to power. And unlike Sunnis saw them being dominant and taking all over the world as the sign that God is with them. Shias used to be the opposite. They saw this being oppressed, the sign that is God on. God is with the weak, and ever since what happened to Hussein, that was their narrative. But ever since Khomeini gained power, they had to come up with the idea like, wait a minute, we thought we should wait. We can't be in power until Imam Mahdi comes. We were supposed to be the oppressed ones. So they came up with this idea, Khomeinism, which is a branch of Shiism, which came up with this Vilayat al-Faqih, which gives them the authority to be the leaders in Imam Zamans or the Imam Mahdi's replacement until he comes back. So they represent him until he comes back. So they just had to come up with a quick fix on how to explain why they are now in power, given that Shias are not supposed to be in power based on their own ideology.
Okay, there's a question about imams. Do they need to have a congregation, or do they just need to have some sort of education?
But
I think it depends. I mean, when it comes to Shia Islam, many of the Shia imams have to go to either Hawza or Qom to get a certification. And Hawza is available is based in Najaf.
So once they get the certification, they don't necessarily have to have a congregation, though, correct? They're still considered imams? That's the way it is for Sunnis anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the case. But I think to get an Ayatollah title, I think you need to get a lot of education.
Right. So they have to have the education, but do they necessarily have to have a congregation?
Yeah, I mean, to be an Ayatollah is most likely to have a congregation. So there is a correlation there.
So there's a difference there with the Sunnis. You just have to have the education, and then you're considered an imam, or you may or may not have a congregation. But
how about followers on Facebook? Does that
we have somebody joining the video call. It has to be Imam Tawhidi because nobody else has the link, but it says Spectral.
Spectral. Hello, Spectral. Are you circumcised, sir?
It sounds like it's like...
Okay.
Right off the bat, Faisal.
It is probably.
Who are you? I didn't share the link with anybody, unless we've been hacked.
It says Spectral Brady.
Hezbollah.
Is it? It's ISIS. Obeyed? What the heck? Where are you guys getting this link from? Obeyed, where did you come from?
There's a link on Twitter.
No.
To the Google Hangout?
No.
Yeah?
Okay.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
I can get out if you want. I don't need to stay on.
Hold on. I think that's Ali's fault.
But not right now.
He linked the Google Hangout link.
I did not.
Yeah, that's Ali's. I think he tweeted the Hangout link.
Oh, Ali.
I accidentally tweeted the wrong link.
Oh,
yes.
Sweet.
I'll tweet the right one. Hold on.
All right, but delete the previous tweet.
I just deleted the previot tweet.
Just retweet the one I had, Ali.
Guys, we love you. We love you all, but we can't. Yeah, I know.
We flicked that. We thought the
you need to go because you're just like the third wheel, and it's weird. You're like the creepy guy in the tree watching us right now. You're not even talking to us.
Okay, I will now.
And I thought Imam al-Mahdi came back.
Yeah. Spectral is there. Hi there. You guys are awesome.
So is Spectral gone?
No,
he's
he's still
talking to
here.
us in the message. Okay, bye, Spectral
Okay.
Brady.
Thank you,
Bye.
Spectral.
Sorry, Ali fucked up.
I blocked Spectral.
Oh my god, this is
That was so weird. You know what, Ali? Comic relief. It was fun. I enjoyed that.
really. Anyway, I apologize to everybody. We would love to have all you guys in here, but it's gonna get really, really crowded because we're recording on Zencaster, which is a separate thing. So it'll cause a lot of problems.
I'm laughing
Anyway,
so
so-
hard
That's
too.
fine.
Sada,
Sarah, wait, we apologize, Ubaid, even though you're a person of color, but we're not racist. Is that okay?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay. Let me tweet the right link now.
All right, by the way, everybody's asking about Ayatollah. I also want to mention that there's only one Ruhollah, right? Khomeini,
What?
Ruhollah.
What's that? I never heard of this.
Korma Sabzi is a great meal, buddy.
No, Ruhollah means like this. Wait, this is actually kind of shirk because Khomeini is called Ruhollah or the spirit of God or the ghost of God or whatever. And there's only one person.
Ghost is a great band, by the way. Have you been to that concert?
I don't know, but
Hey, we're gonna.
I'm learning so many Shia things from you
start
guys.
a band called the Hebrew Grammar Nazis. I thought that'd be a really cool. You know the Hebrew Grammar. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a good band name.
all right, what,
Ali's trying.
I should probably just stay shut the fuck up for the rest of the podcast. Probably.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
You go in the corner.
Just with it.
all right, guys. While we do that, can I mention some? Okay, is there more questions, or can I talk about Shias?
Well,
I mean, finish what
Well,
you were saying.
let's do that. But I think that one of the things is there's some questions related to Imam Tawhidi, and we should
Lots.
probably talk about it because I think a lot of people came in thinking
Okay.
that's
Expecting that
happened. It
conversation.
seems like he hasn't shown up, or
Is
he
it
did that
gossipy to talk about him behind his back, or should we just go ahead?
Or
and
maybe
do it?
Imam Tawhidi is the hidden Imam. Maybe he is the
hidden Imam.
Maybe he is the hidden Imam. So we
you
don't
guys don't
actually
know what
see
that
him,
is?
but he's
No, I have no idea. Is that like
So-
the guy that's in the Red Sea on the
No.
island?
No, come
Yeah, yeah,
Or
on.
it
the
is.
Hidden
It is.
Woods or something? I don't know.
I know
That is
he's
the-
I
mentioned
don't know your
in the-
Shia stories.
That's a Sunni version, actually. That is a Sunni version that he's in on the Red
No,
Sea.
there's no Sunni version. There's real version.
No.
Yes, of course.
The
The real
Sunni
version is the
is
12 Imam.
So here's the thing with Imam. The
just-
reason that this isn't gospel is because there are obviously many public statements he's made. We're going to be talking about that, and let's address some of the things that are being asked. The other thing is that we were interested in having him on specifically because there is a lot of charges about him being Shia and how maybe he's targeting Sunnis and he's not saying anything critical about Shia. So I wish he was here to defend against that, especially because three of us, except for the beautiful lady, three of us are all from Shia backgrounds, and we're very familiar
Actually,
with
he's
Shia.
he's very anti Khomeini and anti-Vilayat al-Faqih.
Yeah, so it would have been kind of good to talk to him. I still see if he shows up, but at this point, it doesn't seem like it's happening. So let's,
right.
Yaz, do you have any questions specific to?
Oh, some people are asking what is the hidden imam. So maybe we should explain what that means. Ali, do you want to take that one?
So Sarah, yes, it's very simple. Hello, Sarah. It's very simple. So the Shia Islam, I mean, the major sect within Shia Islam is called the 12ers. So there are 12 imams within Shia Islam. So Ali and Hussein are the first two, and then Mahdi al-Muntadhar, who is the last imam. Al-Muntadhar means the one to be awaited for. Mahdi al-Muntadhar, according to Shia story, he went invisible. He was like walking, and he was like, like with Facebook chat, you go invisible. So he did that, and then he disappeared, and then so he hid it. So the theory is, so that's where the term Ayatollah comes from. Ayatollah means the representative of Imam al-Mahdi in life. So Mahdi's story is very similar to Jesus. So when Mahdi is going to come back, he's going to reinstitute justice and peace and love and all of these kinds of stuff. And he's going to join forces with Jesus Christ in the war for humanity. And that's kind of like the end of Judgment Day. The Judgment Day. And then Antichrist is going to show up. It's called Da'war al-Dajjal, the guy with the one eye. Some people say there's one eye. So there's going to be a war. There's going to be like a war on terror.
Cyclops.
There's going to be a war on terror. And like the coalition forces represented by Jesus and Mahdi going to join together fighting against the Antichrist. And there's going to be drone attacks. And it's going to be fun. So that's kind of the
and
hidden.
don't forget the hadith of the Gharqad tree. The Gharqad tree, you know about that? That specific tree that will speak out when Jews hide behind these trees, then the tree will speak out and say, "Hey, there's a Jew behind me."
Except for one specific kind of tree, because it's a Jew tree, so it's not telling on the Jews.
Oh, maybe that is a Gharqad.
What is a Jew tree? Is that like schnitzel?
It's a circumcised tree.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Bagels and babkas. That's what goes on.
So Shia Islam, when it came, it served multiple purposes, right? Shia Islam, first of all, was a great way for Iranians to not take the Arab version of Islam and be like they said, this is our Islam. So the Arabs
wrong. All Islam is Arab Islam. Just saying.
No, I know, but Shia Islam was like, you know what? We reject this foreign thing. This Shia Islam is basically kind of like an Iranian Islam, but another thing is that Shia Islam provided a lot of things.
Hey.
What?
Shia Islam isn't Iranian Islam.
It is. Oh, there you go.
It's not Iranian Islam, but it was Iranians during the Safavid era. It was like in protest against the Arabs, right? So basically, they took it. I mean, the 12 imams didn't even consider themselves Shia versus Sunni. They just considered themselves these oppressed true Muslims. Shia Islam was invented way after they died, right? As a sect. But
I think there's a dispute.
Yeah, I mean, they consider themselves followers of Ali, but they didn't see it as it wasn't a branch of Islam until it became very popular. I mean, actually in Egypt, actually, the Fatimites in Egypt actually started that, and then, but I think it was way after they died. Like they didn't even see themselves as imams. Right.
I think, Armin, the political aspect of it may have come later, but Shiat al-Ali, the term Shiat al-Ali, which means the followers of Ali, that actually started as early or even before the Karbala battle between Hussein.
It started right when Muhammad died, because I agree.
Right when successorship.
The Muhammad. The idea was that Islam should stay within Baitul, the household of the Prophet, and these were all the children of the Prophet. So that idea was still there, but it wasn't a major sect until after they died. Anyways. My point is that a lot of things were added to Shiism that I think a lot of religions want, a lot of followers of religions want, and Sunni Islam didn't provide. For example, in many religions, you have this female deity that people want as a mother figure, not just the God, like a father figure. And like in Catholics provide Mother Mary as a divine figure, and Shia Islam provides Fatima as a kind of divine figure to worship. And then like Catholics provide relics, which and Protestants are against, and Shias have these relics that people see as holy, and Sunnis consider that as idol worship and shirk. And Catholics, for example, have another thing that people really ache for is this Messiah figure that is going to come back and fix everything. And Shia Islam provides that in Imam Mahdi, which he is going to come back. And by the way, when Imam Mahdi comes and destroys all the enemies of Islam and kills everybody, apparently Jesus Christ will be fighting right beside him on a horse. Like Jesus Christ is going to be in Imam Mahdi's army fighting all the infidels, which is going to be us. And there's
go back to your country.
Okay, yeah, we're going into details. People just want to know, like, how did the Shia stuff start?
The layman's version, the difference is that the Sunnis have an Imam Mahdi. They have an Mahdi, not the Imam Mahdi. For the Shia, it's one of the Imams who was lifted up, and he's going to come back. And for the Sunnis, he's going to come de novo, and that's what ISIS believes. That's a whole thing.
Okay, so anyway, but like taking it back even further, people are asking about when did the split happen?
Oh my God! Are we gonna do
just very quickly?
The moment
Muhammad died, and there was a fight about who's going to be the next.
Before Muhammad died, it happened. It started when Aisha lost her necklace.
You don't have to give a lot of details like that.
No, but that's the question: is when did it start? The question is, it started when Abu Bakr and Ali had a fight.
Oh, we talked about the necklace thing in a previous previous episode, so you can always look that up. But basically, yeah, after Muhammad, there are 4 caliphs that the Sunnis believe in, and there are 12 imams that the Shias believe in. There's an overlap. The 4th caliph is Ali, who I'm named after, and he's also the first imam, who I'm named after. So I kind of am on
Quick version is like there was a night قضية الغدير. Muhammad decided that Ali is going to be the next Khalifa. The Sunnis version is that no, Abu Bakr is the first Khalifa. Then they had a war.
Wael is questioning my Jewish tree information, so I sent you a link in the chat. There is a hadith about that. There is a hadith that...
Don't question.
Don't you ever be questioning me.
Yeah.
So I sent you a link there that you can take a look. It's a little comic that has a little Jewish guy hiding behind a tree, and the Muslim's trying to find him with a gun, and the tree is like, "Hey, Muslim, there's a Jew behind me."
Yeah, but there's, by the way, I mean, just a clarification. I mean that many times this verse hadith is being used, but I think it's Islamophobic. So anyway,
that should be the name of our podcast, Islamophobia.
So Ryan Spencer says the problem with the word reform, Bill Warner outlines quite well. Bill Warner is white privilege, so nobody takes him seriously. So
who's Bill Warner?
I didn't even.
He's a white privileged. So what else? Doesn't Imam support Trump? That would be interesting to discuss. Oh, he does support Trump?
So here's well, I mean, we don't know that, but here's what one of my questions for him was going to be. So hopefully, if he comes at some point, then he can answer it. Is that he has shown support for a Muslim ban? So there is a politician in Australia, a senator who's the head of the One Nation Party, and she floated a hashtag that was "Pray for a Muslim ban," and she proposed this right after the Orlando shooting, and she's even said that they should have a Muslim immigration ban because, quote, "we have laws here that we don't bring in pit bull terriers because they're a danger to our society," end quote. So he has actually praised Ms. Hansen, and he actually said that if we had politicians like Pauline Hanson in Iraq, ISIS would have never come in. So Faisal, you could probably comment about that in a bit. So he has supported her, and she's obviously clearly a supporter of Trump. She supports a Muslim immigration ban. He supports a temporary Muslim immigration ban, and he thinks that he said she's on the right track. There's a rumor also that he sent her flowers. I don't know if that's it's going around. I haven't verified it, so I don't know if that's true. But he is a fan.
Flowers, I was really laughing.
So Faisal, I was going to ask you.
Sent you flowers?
I was hoping because he's also from when he talked about Iraq, he said that if people like Pauline Hanson were in Iraq, politicians over there were like that, ISIS would never have come in. So I wanted to know what you thought of it.
Yeah, I mean, so he's making the argument that if the Iraq war never happened, then ISIS would not existed, right?
No, he's not. He's saying that if politicians like Pauline Hanson, who says that we should have a Muslim immigration ban, and she compares like Muslim immigration to allowing a lot of pit bull terriers into the country, she thinks that that's the same thing. So she's very, very anti-Muslim immigration, and he's saying
very absurd. I would say that's a very absurd logic, right?
Yeah, hold on. Let me post
ISIS.
This is. I don't want to.
ISIS, in my opinion, emerged from mainly domestic politics within Iraq and Syria, and the civil war in Syria, and the regional war between Iran and Saudi Arabia and Qatar. That's to do with like Muslim immigration to Australia, a country that's too far away. And
Faisal, I have to ask you about something that I heard. Actually, it was somebody that was on a podcast with Sam Harris. I can't remember his name, but he was saying that basically ISIS just walked into Mosul with no problems because...
Yeah, they want to hear the story?
Well, what he was... Let me just tell you what he was saying. He was saying that the Iraqi army... It wasn't even... Where was it? It wasn't Mosul. I don't know, but he was saying the Iraqi army. It was okay. Yeah. So the Iraqi army was Sunni, and the Shias. It was a Shia majority area, and so when ISIS came in, No, opposite.
No, the opposite. Yeah, Mosul is majority
Opposite,
Sunni. Yeah.
And so ISIS came in and
the
they're
army
like, we're
was-
Sunni and we're going to protect you. And then they were like, fuck you, army, because you guys are Shia. And so the people actually wanted ISIS there. Is that correct?
So let me tell you, that may need like 5 minutes of explanation because it's a very complicated subject.
Okay.
And I'm going to make it as short as possible. So in 2006, 2007, there was a movement. That's when I was in Iraq and I was kind of involved in some of this. But there was a movement called As-Sahwa, which is called the Awakening Forces. The Awakening Forces started by a guy called David Petraeus, who was the head of the multi-coalition forces, with a guy called Abu Risha, which are tribal forces in West Iraq, and mostly Sunni tribal forces.
So this is Sunni Awakening, right? That's a common term that I think is understood here. Sunni Awakening.
Graham Wood,
So,
thank
Sunni
you,
Awakening.
FPVT6F45.
So fast forward, after the Maliki got to power and the US withdrew from Iraq, al-Maliki cut down, al-Maliki was the former prime minister of Iraq, cut down most of the salaries of the Sahwa forces. So then there was a huge rise of sectarianism as a result of many things. Maliki is partially responsible, and also Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi was the leader of Al-Qaeda. He blew up Al-Askari Mosque in Iraq, and that kind of led to the rise of tensions. Fast forward, many Shia Iraqis, mostly made in the army, felt not really much motivated to fight for Sunnis anymore. So there is a book by Robert Coburn from The Independent. He called ISIS the Sunni Revolution. So ISIS, to some extent, existed. Add to the Syrian civil war, existed mainly because of sectarian politics, and so many Iraqi armies. So even actually, just to give you a reference, about a year ago, and I was talking to some Iraqi generals who came to Washington D.C. and same came to New York as well, and I was talking to them. It's like, oh, what is the reason why you're not doing something about it much? And they're like, oh, well, why would we have to fight for Sunnis if they keep blowing us up? So that's kind of was his reasoning. So there is a lot of sectarianism language. There's a lot of sectarianism going on. So this is many. Now, after the fatwa from Ayatollah Sistani and the creation of Hashd al-Sha'bi, which is called the PMF in English, Popular Mobilization Force, there has been like a lot of folks from the south fighting in Mosul, and also the same with the Iraqi army. There's now another strike happening. So yeah, it's very complicated. But one of the main reasons why many of the Iraqi army withdrew at the time was, first of all, they were overwhelmed by how much ISIS kind of got some support, and also they didn't feel that much motivated to sacrifice their lives for Sunni majority provinces, and that's what ISIS kind of took hold, which is Mosul, which is part of Nineveh in Arabic. Nineveh, Al-Anbar. Anbar is what Fallujah and Ramadi are based in, which many of the US Army came in, and then So I would say, there are two books I would recommend: Michael Weiss and the ISIS and the Army of Terror, and Patrick Coburn, ISIS and the Sunni Revolution. They kind of explain many of these dynamics.
So Faisal, I have a question. I have a short question. Would you say some of the blame is to Iran because when the new government was being formed, U.S. was trying to get the government in Iraq to be nice to like the Sunnis as well, but Iran was like giving more support to Iraq, and like Iran was supporting the government to be more pro-Shia, and the government in Iraq was like, well, these are our neighbors. We're always going to have the support of Iran, and so the government was mostly listening to Iran than the United States. And that made a lot of Sunnis angry, and that gave rise to the uprising of the Sunnis. Would you say?
Yeah, of course. The Maliki and Iran, many people don't really remember that, but Maliki and Iran have benefited so much from ISIS. Partially why the Iran deal even happened is because the United States saw Iran as a quote-unquote an ally in the war on terror. So Iran and the Shia militias and many people like Maliki have benefited from ISIS. So, and it's the same with Assad. Assad, there's this major theory about Assad is that he actually trained many people who are members of Al-Qaeda and used to send them to Iraq to blow things up in order to make the Iraqi democracy fail. And in that way, the United States would not intervene within Syria. So Iran and Shia, I mean, not the Shias of Iraq, but I would say the leadership and Assad have benefited more from ISIS than they were harmed by it. So yes, Iran played a very ugly game that got many of their people. But the thing is, like, to unite many of the Shias between Iraq and Iran, because Iraq and Iran, as you know, had a war. And
hi, random stranger joining our video call.
We have a white guy came out of nowhere.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I wonder, Ali, how did that happen?
I deleted the tweet.
So I think we need to just mute the guy.
You just muted him. Hi, dude.
We're
on a live podcast right now. Ali sent the link to you by accident.
Yeah.
This is how we treat foreigners in this podcast. He left. Bye. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. So yeah.
I don't even know. Okay,
oh my God.
Can we go on?
There's another question about.
Let's move on. Yeah, let's enough with the Shia stuff because I can't engage. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So let's move on to something broader. A lot of people are asking about. There's a couple of more Imam Tawhidi questions. We'll get to that, but a lot of people are asking about Graham Wood. A bunch of people are saying.
Oh no, Graham Wood is the podcast with Sam Harris. It was actually really good.
Podcast, and before that, actually, Graham is he's written. He's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He has written about. He wrote that Atlantic cover article, What ISIS Really Wants, which was absolutely fantastic. And he also has a new book out. So he's actually gone around and spoken to people who are ISIS supporters or people who are recruiters for ISIS in Australia and all kinds of other places. Mostly in the Western world. So he has a really good insight on how, especially Westerners.
The only thing I have to say about that podcast. Okay, go ahead.
That's a great question.
Can we just put an open invite to any ISIS members that are listening to come on our show?
Okay, good idea, Armin.
Seriously.
Himself, he doesn't represent his views, doesn't represent the views of the podcast. So
of course not. Nobody's doing it. Yeah.
Adam is asking this question. What did you guys think of all the
hi, random stranger again.
Who's the
number? Stop coming here.
Another random. Is it the same white guy?
The same guy.
Mute this fucker. Okay. He got muted. Hey, how can we block? How can we ignore? There's ignore. Let's click on permanently block him on Google. Great, done.
What? I'm sorry.
Dude.
He's so racist. He's so racist.
It's so funny. It's so funny, guys.
Oh my God. It's asking me if I want to block him as well.
So there was a guy who's saying, what do you guys think of the Ayan? Should I go first? Because I was at that panel.
Yes,
I was not at the panel. I was at the... So, I mean, it was, to quote Prophet Muhammad, it was a clusterfuck. And...
by the way, I just want to say we've got a lot of ISIS members now saying that, hey, we're all ISIS members. They all want to get in. So in any case, go on.
So there's something that I actually learned about the panel was if the Republican is the one who's the chairman of the panel, they have to make most of the panel to be Democrats to kind of avoid majority rule. So many of the people who are panelists were not panelists. They were kind of the Congress people at the discussion. So many of them were Democrats. So the discussion was, so the Democrats also chose a guy who was the former head of counterterrorism, I think, under the Obama administration. Ayan Asra did their testimonies, and then there was a guy, I forgot his name, and then there's the guy from the Obama administration. Fast forward, all the questions were directed to the guy who was the former head of the Obama administration. Ayan and Asra were very much ignored most of the discussion. The only guy who was asking them questions was the Republican.
Including by the women on the panel, on the committee.
Yeah.
Even they did not. That was really stunning.
I would say they didn't take them seriously. The senator from Michigan said that he condemned the anti-Muslim hate was on that testimony. And then, so here's the things that I've noticed that I think is very important for all of us to learn from. I think it's very important that those who, if we ever do Senate hearing in the future, it's always good to come with policy proposals, considering that you're talking to policymakers. So talking about, like, let's fight Islamism, blah blah blah. It's not a policy. It's just an idea. So you have to transform. There's a concept called the theory of change, and the theory of change is to transform your ideas into policy. What the guy from the Obama administration had is that he had the proposals of what the Senate should do, what types of bills they should pass, like increase funding for law enforcement, do this for this, do this for this. He had much more proposals. While Ayan
Yeah, but
and
Faisal,
Asra,
come on. That's his job. And he's been doing
Yeah,
it under
yeah.
2 administrations right now. And Ayan and Asra were supposed to be coming there. That wasn't their role. Their role was to come and speak about it from the perspective of a woman who has lived under Islam and just giving
That
the
is
real
true.
deal.
That is true. I'm not saying that that's a criticism of Asra and Ayan, but I say it probably would be ideal to have more policy proposals. I think
Mhm.
Ayan and Asra did wonderfully. I mean, they spoke their minds. They talked about what they're like.
And that guy's
ideas.
policies were shit too, because he was like, "Oh, radicalization doesn't happen in the mosques. Let's just have cricket games." Like,
Yeah.
guy was-
Thank you, Yasmin, for interrupting me. But anyway, so I think overall it was a good try, and hopefully we can have more of it again. And yeah, so Yasmin, go ahead if you want to have any comment as well.
no, that's. I just like interrupting. I don't have any comments when the floor is mine.
Ali, Armin.
No, I thought the testimony was good. I thought Ayan's testimony was fantastic, specifically. Well, because we're more aligned with Ayan as well, since she's also an atheist. I thought Asra did a really compelling job as well. There's just this thing. I mean, they are stigmatized. This is a problem generally with people who are ex-Muslims or reform types. Like this is just a problem that more of us have to. I think organize. More of us have to get together, because that's kind of what politicians go for. I think Armin brought up this issue before as well, where he said that if you're going to have any kind of political influence as the people from the ex-Muslim community, if you're going to get people to come and listen to us, we're going to have to organize in a way that the ISNAs and the CARES and all the moderates, they get together. So I think that
hopefully we
that's
can achieve
important.
that. We can achieve that if we do a plug for my organization, Ideas Beyond Borders.
Ideas Beyond
We'd like
Borders,
to get
and
more
we are
people
beginning
organized
that. Right, and I want to say
Yeah,
this.
we
We
want to
said
get
this
people
before
more
too.
organized then.
Yeah, and we're also working with the Ayan Hirsi Ali Foundation. We're going to do a college campus tour. So I'm involved in it. Yaz is involved in it. Faisal's involved in it. Well, Faisal's one of the people who's actually running it. Alishba, my wife, is also involved in it. So we're going to get that going very soon. We're working with Ayan and Asra and everybody else to try and get something going like this on a much more major scale. I think this hearing was a good first step. I'm glad it's out there on video. People can watch it. And I
see the betrayal of the left.
This is unfortunately the norm, and what people saw with Senator Clara McCaskill, when she directed the questions, she didn't even look at the women, right? The people of color that they're supposed to be all for, right? The liberals in general, they just didn't even look at that, and they just went straight to question the guy who was on the very right.
So we have a good question here to move.
Can we make this a last question, because we're already at 45 minutes?
Okay, so this question is about, do you think that Tommy Robinson is the one that radicalized the guy that drove his car into the people at the mosque? And I find it interesting that that's even a question that's coming up. It sort of reminds me of when there was that incident in California when people were saying, oh, the guy is an atheist, so it must have been Richard Dawkins that radicalized him. But when there's an actual book that tells people you should go and kill non-Muslims, people say, no, it has nothing to do with that book. But when there are, the same thing what happened with Quebec. Here in Quebec, in Canada, when there was people shot at the mosque, people were saying, oh, it's Marine Le Pen's fault, it's Trump's fault. And they're very quick to blame anybody who's on the right wing, who they assume would have radicalized these people. And they don't do the same thing when it's on the other side.
Yeah, so they're kind of the opposites of each other.
They are. I should say one thing that I do think that the rhetoric does. That's how people. I mean, people are getting radicalized because there is a lot of rhetoric. I've been blamed for this.
Both sides cause.
Exactly, both sides.
That's
So there is rhetoric on both sides. If there's a lone wolf like the guy who shot up the Aurora movie theater, that obviously that's not ideology related. But there is right now. There is a lot of anti-Muslim rhetoric that's coming out of the far right, and that is driving a lot of violence.
And it's not like Tommy Robinson ever said, cut off your heads where you find them or whatever.
No, I don't think it's Tommy Robinson. I don't think it's Tommy. I mean, it's the same thing. People blame Tommy Robinson. I've been told that, because I criticize Islam, that's why, people going around killing Muslims. That's obviously ridiculous. So the main reason that people have animosity towards Muslims, unfortunately, is because Islamic terrorists quote from Islamic texts and they do the things that they do, right? And they say Allahu Akbar when they do it. When people watch that, they associate it with Islam. It's not the media, it's not the Islamophobes, it's not even Tommy Robinson. I've got a lot of disagreements with Tommy Robinson who's doing it. These are the terrorists themselves who are linking Islam with terrorism. And that's why it's happening. And now you have a far right. This week we saw leftist terrorism in Virginia and we saw right-wing terrorism. So it seems like ISIS has a little bit of influence everywhere. They're kind of going broader.
Well, even these guys, even this mosque thing, they were following the ISIS style, right? Go with a van and ram into people and then jump out and stab them. That's ISIS's MO.
Okay, so Armin, I think, has to go.
Yeah, but we already have 50 minutes. No, I really have to go. Because
I have one question. We can continue the Q&A. But the Zencaster, we can only upload 50 minutes.
No, because I started the Zencaster. So
that's for the recording, but we can still talk to people for the next 10 minutes. But so this is going to be the only part going to be recorded that's going to be up. But we can continue the Q&A.
Those who are listening to this recording, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. God bless you.
We love you, Armin. We love you. Stay safe.
Armin.
Bye, Armin. Bye. Enjoy Lebanon. Enjoy Hezbollah.
Oh my God. All right.
Sarah, yes, we're trying to get Tommy on the podcast. We would like to.
We actually do have Anne-Marie Waters coming on a future episode, and they're very
in a couple days.
Yep, and they're very aligned with Tommy Robinson, so I feel like we're going to get a lot of that anyway. So yeah, we do want to have that viewpoint, especially because all of us are kind of we have very diverse views when it comes to that, when it comes to this sort of side of things.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen, it's really interesting how there are there are Islamist apologists and there are far right apologists. So the far right people say that far right ideology has nothing to do with extremism, and Muslim apologists say Islam has nothing to do with extremism, and they both say it's the same argument of not all far right or not all Muslims or not all Islamists or not all. So extremism is extremism, and the extremist ideology can come in multiple forms. Most of the crimes committed in world history were committed by communists. And it's also another extreme, if taken to its extreme, can lead to violent acts. The most people who killed the Jews were not Muslims. They were Nazis who were far-right white nationalists or white supremacists in that regard. So many people forget that extremism, yes, it's a fact that Islamic extremism is the most prominent in the 21st century, and nobody's denying that, except if you are an ignorant person. But that doesn't mean that extremism and supremacy and killing people cannot come from different ideologies. And for ages, extremism has come from actually different ideologies. Communism and Mao and Pol Pot and Stalin and Hitler and all these folks. Mussolini have killed more millions of people than Osama bin Laden.
They directly did it, but what I'm talking about is the importance of rhetoric. Like the Quebec mosque shooter, he actually said he went and he saw a Marine Le Pen speech when she came in, and what he did was he took that to heart. He took it very seriously. I'm not saying that's the only thing that drove it, but that definitely, that rhetoric has an influence. Okay, just like Islamic rhetoric has an influence. In some cases, there's a direct line of violence. With Islam, it's stronger. Okay, so we can't deny that either. It says specifically to go and kill the infidels. Now, with Trump has said, he has encouraged violence in his rallies. He's told people to punch protesters in the face. He said that, I'd like to see them go out on a stretcher. He's done things like that. And he's even said that, the Second Amendment, people will take care of the Hillary situation, right? He said that during his campaign. So he doesn't have to necessarily go out and say, go kill this person or that person.
Right. But what's interesting is that there is that rhetoric. There is sort of there is sort of a line there that you can sort of, okay, well, it looks like he might have been preaching violence. He didn't specifically say to shoot people up at the mosque, but it's kind of there. And people are very clear on that. People have no problem saying that. Mm-hmm. But when there is a much clearer line between a jihadi and their book and their hadith and their history of the man that they revere,
they deny it.
They deny it. Yeah, they're unwilling to see such a clear link.
I agree. So I wanted to get...
bothers me. But I just wanted to say that the Imam did right. He says, "Greetings, Yasmin. I think there's been a misunderstanding on my behalf about the timings, and I'm very sorry about this. I had scheduled it for 7 more hours. I must have been mistaken with the time difference. I'm currently in a meeting." So the Imam will not be joining us tonight, but hopefully we'll have another podcast with him.
There's another question here on the live chat that I thought was good. Someone says, "I am an atheist ex-Muslim, but I am," on the YouTube thing. "I'm an atheist ex-Muslim, but I'm really tired of Muslims being tools for Fox News and anti-Muslim bigotry. Asra Nomani in particular, who goes on Fox News and defends Trump at his worst." So anybody...
I don't think she's being used as a tool. I think she's a very smart woman and she's making her own decisions.
I think that she made her own decision. I disagree with her decision. I know a lot of people do. I don't think my whole thing was that if someone is speaking against a hijab, you know how they talk about women voting against their own self-interests, right? So hold on, who's coming in? Oh, so when people vote against their own self-interests, we say that women who wear the hijab, they're doing that, but in a way, women who are voting for Trump are doing that too. So I found that an inconsistency, but I like Asra a lot. I think she's a very smart person. I think she's a very important voice. And personal disagreements aside, I think she handles herself well. But that said, I do think, apart from this example, I do think that it is important not to be used as a tool for a lot of these right-wing outlets, because a lot of them are really just they would, as far as our families and friends, a lot of them are concerned, they would just like to see them either deported or kicked out of the country or not brought in the first place. And they want us to go on and echo their sentiment and use us as a tool to say, see, look, the brown guy's saying it too, right?
I know this is really tired and old and it's been said a million times, but exactly what you're saying about the right wing is true about the left wing too. As much as I do not want to be associated with the right wing, I strongly do not want to be associated with the far left wing as well. I am a liberal human being, but I am not a left wing. Yeah.
So they would use us the other way around. I mean, not to. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their own agenda. Everyone have. I mean, to give you 2 examples, right? When I wrote a very strong article against left wing hypocrisy when it comes to Islamic extremism, and then Glenn Beck, news media, The Blaze, shared my article. And when I said something critical of Trump because of the refugee ban, I was retweeted by people who work at CNN and the Daily Beast and all of that. So everyone is trying to find this brown guy who want to fit their own agenda. Look, there is this brown guy who agrees with me. I mean, that has been, to be honest, a very great motivator for me to start my own thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, for ages,
that's
for
actually
people who probably know me
started this podcast too. One of the biggest things behind this podcast.
I got this global movement.
I was featured by Breitbart in 2014 and the title of the article was "Meet Ali Rizvi, CARE's newest enemy," and it was just glowing praise about me and how CARE should be.
It's actually an awesome title.
Yeah, no, it was a great
Love
title.
it.
The thing is, was a fucking Breitbart. So I was on Breitbart before Breitbart became this, evil thing that it is today. But what I wanted to say was that that's what I was saying. I think one of the context of this question is that a lot of people who are ex-Muslims, we've been talking about the regressive left for a very long time, several years now. How liberals and leftists are upon them. Me and Faisal talked about it in our conversations. I have a whole chapter in my book about it. But the question now is that a lot of these people, because they're so disgusted by the regressive left, are now moving. A lot of them are going to the far right because they're like, oh, well, on the right, we have allies. They support us a lot more. So I guess the context of this question is that should we be doing that? You're going from one end of the spectrum to the other. And my answer is obviously no. That's why we have this podcast. That's why Faisal has Ideas Beyond Borders. And I've always said that Islam is one issue. And I think that the right makes very good points on it. They're very good on free speech and other things too. But they're still wrong on a lot of things. They're wrong on a lot of civil rights issues. They're wrong on science. They're wrong on
I completely agree with you. But when you're in America and you have two parties to vote for, and one is far left and one is far right, it put them all in a really bad position. Who we are is not represented in any political parties.
Yeah, that's why we got to get organized. Yeah, that's why we have all the stuff going.
And start public. I mean, that's one of my main missions in life, is try to kind of end this polarization and have more like a reasoned, balanced, evidence-based debate. I mean, I one of the first things that when I came to America I found really weird is that you can know someone's position on a climate change from their position on abortion, and you're like, how is that even possible? Like you're like it's kind of like the 10 commandments of the left and the commandments of the right, and they all like to some extent politics has become kind of a religion, in which independent thinking is like I can know what Rachel Maddow is going to say next without even watching Rachel Maddow. And I can know what Bill O'Reilly is going to say next without even watching Bill O'Reilly. Because it all follows a similar logic. While in my opinion, politics should be...
or lack thereof.
Based on... Yeah, like it should not be based on religion. I mean, I can be pro-gun and pro-choice and pro-immigration, and like depending on whatever I find to be suitable evidence to support my arguments is like this. So I hope like with our podcast and my organization and your work will hopefully kind of bring. I mean, I don't really see. I mean, my organization as also with me, I don't really see my job as partisan work. Like I think that what I would love to see, I would love to have an election. I'm going to be a citizen hopefully by the end of this year. I would like to vote for the first time in my American elections and see that there are two good choices. And I have to really wonder what choice is more clear to me. So like now with the situation, I mean, look at the last election. Fucking disaster. Yes, I would go for Hillary. Yeah, of course I would go for Hillary. But at the same time, don't tell me Hillary was a clear choice. She was not a clear choice. I mean, it was a Bloomberg. He was more ethical, smart businessman, did so many things. But Hillary is not a clear choice. Yes, it's a clear choice compared to Trump, but don't tell me it's like the natural reaction.
Who isn't a clear choice compared to Trump?
A peanut is a clear choice compared to Trump.
Yeah, it's like, don't tell me that the natural reaction to your brain will tell you like, oh, Hillary, she's the best thing could ever happen to America, and I'm so excited that she's going to run for president. Like every rational person would not even think that. So like I would love, hopefully with our work, we probably can bring in some reason and conversation and reason civil conversation to this major topics.
I had this. There some people also talking about the new center, and so I just like in 2015, I think it was 2015. I wrote an article called "The New Center Between the Left's Apologism and the Right's Bigotry," something like that, and it was for again HuffPost of all places. And that's when I ended up being on Rubin, and it became a hashtag. It became like this new center thing. Then everybody started talking about it. But now the new center is apparently Glenn Beck's in the new center, and Mike Cernovich is in the new center.
What?
And yeah,
no, you're not invited.
Oh yeah. They're all talking about it. So now I've kind of I'm like, okay, like let's just. I mean, they're not in
You're just
the actual.
throwing everybody in there now. It's just
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
but that's
everybody's
the thing
kinda-
about labels, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
the biggest issues with unfortunately, any label is that I, for example, classical liberalism, and Alex Jones think he's a classical liberal, and Paul Joseph Watson think they're classical liberal. I would like, what the flying fuck? So like classical liberalism of John Stuart Mill and Voltaire and all these Enlightenment philosophers somehow inspired Alex Jones, and they are so John Stuart Mill, which is one of the best Enlightenment philosophers, wrote on liberty and whatever, is on the same label as, because that's the thing is like now in this postmodern world that both the left and the right subscribe to in one way or another with like alternative facts and identity.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me
Yeah.
of the Islamism separation, where there are
Oh,
no
no, come
Muslims.
on.
There are no Muslims that are ever going to identify, I'm an Islamist. None of them will ever say that. Right? No American's ever going to say, I'm far right, I'm alt right, or
But
I'm a
Arabic is different,
progressive
though.
left. So everybody just says, I'm center. I'm just an average moderate Muslim.
Yeah.
But in Arabic there is a distinction though, right? Like in Arabic, when
But that's
you
not
say
my point. My point is nobody wants to self-identify as an Islamist.
but that's the English translation. So like Islami, when somebody says "Ana min al-Hizb al-Islami," al-Hizb al-Islami al-Iraqi, there's a difference between Islami
Hey,
and Muslim.
do you have?
I
stop
understand
with
what
the
you're
terrorist talk.
So you're
Huh?
talking about like a,
Speak English. Stop with the terrorist talk.
I don't speak terrorist. So
Why
Do
are
you
you
speak
speaking
Taliban,
terrorist?
Ali? Do you speak Taliban? But yeah, it's like, but the distinction is still important in my opinion. Let's go back to the question. I think we ignored our white
What
privilege
other
audience.
question do we have? I don't know. You guys go
Wow,
ahead.
we
I've
have,
been
like-
reading them for a while.
I
Yasmin,
don't know.
woman
Yes.
should.
No,
The
it's
woman
just
should
going
choose.
on about Dave Rubin now. Leave Dave alone. He's been through enough.
Let's not talk about people anymore. Let's just get an idea question.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're friends with Dave. We like Dave. We have again the
All
thing
of us
that
have been
all
on
of this
Dave's
stuff
show.
is.
He supported
All of us have been. Yeah, he's very supportive. He's been great. And yes, there are disagreements. We have disagreements with a lot of people that we work with together. I mean,
We
the
have disagreements
initiative-
with each other on the podcast.
We have,
That
exactly,
doesn't
all the
It
time.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything. It doesn't
And
mean
that
that we're
happens.
going to stop being
we
friends
all
or
love
loving
each
each
other.
other.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Yasmin.
And I love mostly everybody.
Terms and conditions apply.
That's
Um,
right.
So yeah, we like everybody. Well,
Mostly.
okay.
So yeah.
Laith says, will Iraq become like the UAE?
I remember seeing a good
Ask
question.
my mom.
but it's lost.
My mom has the answer to this question.
The networks won't have reasonable Muslims on. Yeah, tell the networks to have. Any of you work for networks? Like, come on, none of you guys work for mainstream media. Get us on there.
Actually, I mean, let me make an announcement here. I have figured out one of the ways to go on mainstream media that I've actually learned quite about 2 weeks ago, and that is by having people who are very qualified in press releases and writing to journalists about issues. So if you know people who actually can, like I have got to know this friend who, like, every time
Publicists.
there is an issue about Islam and stuff, and he happens to have a very good publicist. I'm not going to mention his name for security reasons, but it really helps. Like, it really helps when someone else pitches you compared to you pitching yourself.
Mhm.
Or like a good help with some people who probably know some connection here and there, because we would love. I mean, one of the reasons I'm starting this campus program with Ayan and is that I would love our voices to be heard, because from what you're seeing right now, like, you can see someone who is very for extreme vetting, but at the same time recognizes the complexities of Muslim world, recognizes the complexities of Muslim families, because we also come from Muslim families. I mean, all of us. So like, we kind of bring a perspective that many people who may be out of that world may not even recognize. And I'm trying to play identity politics here, but at the same time, like, just the four of us. I mean, just the four of us as an example, we can bring a perspective that you may not have heard before. that will make you think, and maybe hopefully that will influence policy. Hopefully that will influence change within the narrative within U.S. campuses and stuff.
2 questions. Number 1, Faisal, why are you smoking again? I thought you were quitting.
Yeah, well, I had a very stressful month, and when you have a very stress, you go back to your vices. That's my answer.
Okay, so we have to forgive you for that.
Stand up for your
let's just-
smoking rights.
Yeah, let's forgive Faisal. He is just a sinner.
Just a
and the
simple
other
reminder.
question is-
Just a simple reminder. Like me and Ali once were in Washington D.C. I'm gonna mention this story. It's very funny. So there
You
was
can't
this,
mention names.
yeah, I'm not gonna mention names, but there was this girl who had a crush on me, and she was like against my smoking, and I was like, "Listen, I smoke." That's what was.
No, it was funny. Is it
So
like he was
Arab
standing
of you.
outside? No, he was standing outside, and you know how I think that she liked him, and she was doing the whole thing, like, you know, don't. And within 10 minutes, she started treating him like he was her boyfriend. So he went outside, and he was having a cigarette, and we were both having a cigarette, and you know, he had a cigarette, and then he finished that one, and then he lit up another one, and she's like, she's like, "Listen, Faisal, please don't. Can you please not smoke when I'm around?" And he just looked around. He's like, "I'm sorry, I smoke," and he kept on smoking. And she didn't do a thing. It was just so funny. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, this guy clearly doesn't give a shit.
It must have been super hot for her to make those demands on you within 10 minutes of meeting you.
Like, we were outside.
Yeah, I know,
we're not there in front of your baby or anything. So
Yeah, it was a very awkward scenario.
Yeah, that's
no, it was
weird.
hilarious. It was awkward for you. It was for me. It was fucking awesome. Right.
Good answer, Faisal. So the question here is about the gap between standard and classical Arabic. This is a question that people have been asking a lot lately. They seem to think that Arabic works like English does, and I think that probably has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of the people that are asking me this question are only familiar with English. English has an evolution that is different than most other languages. So
Can you repeat?
So the question is between the standard Arabic and classical Arabic. So when you read the Quran, how different is that from Fusha that we still use today? When you're reading and writing Arabic in the academic sphere, for example, how different is that reading and writing different from the reading and writing in the Quran? That's the question.
I mean,
so I just wanted.
Most of the classical Arabic, Fusha Arabic, I think, is mainly based on the Quran. I mean, the Arabic used to be much more non-organized language, and then the Quran came up, and then the grammar was based upon the Quran.
Yeah, so people are asking this question because they're comparing it to English, and Arabic has had a very different history, as has Spanish and French and lots of other languages. It's English that has a different history.
Yeah, so like, I mean, English is these are so Fusha, which is that what people consider classical Arabic, is based upon mainly the Quran with some modifications. People generally, when they talk to each other, they talk in dialects. So I speak Iraqi dialects. I mean, I understand all dialects because I lived around the Middle East. So I speak Lebanese.
But that's what you speak. But reading and writing, we're all reading and writing the same Fusha.
All reading and writing is the same. All reading. I mean, there are some writings sometimes, like it's called the Sha'r al-Sha'bi, which is like a poetry based on the local language. Sometimes they write it in the language. So, for example, like in the dialect. So, for example, in Iraqi, we have che and ve.
Right. So that's again spoken. But if we're just sticking to the reading and writing, writing
Arabic, writing Arabic, all the same.
Very similar to the Quran.
Yeah.
If not almost identical.
Yeah, it's like few with some modifications based on
some modifications. Spoken, different story completely. But we're talking about reading and
there's
writing.
Spoken Fusha. There is a spoken.
Yes, that's correct.
Arabic.
Like if you're watching a news show or something, people will speak in Fusha. But generally, there's different dialects depending on where you're from in the Arab world. But the question that people keep on asking is because they want to know, because in English, even Shakespearean English, but people are bringing up like Beowulf and stuff because they're thinking about like 1400-year-old English. What would that look like? And how different would that be than the English that we're speaking today? Incredibly different. It didn't even exist. Like it's completely, it's something else, right? But Arabic is didn't evolve in the same way. English was never formed. Actually, there's a really great TED Ed. If you Google TED Ed English history, and then it'll give you a little history of how the English language formed, and that is the anomaly. That's what you need to know. Like, people think that because English is a language that they know, they think that's the standard and that's how all languages evolved. But no, when we read the Quran today, it is incredibly similar to the written Arabic that we would read in any book. So as an Arabic person, when you read the Quran, you can understand what it says. So when it says beat your wife, we're reading beat your wife. We don't have any questions about like, does that mean grapes or does that mean buy her flowers? No, we understand what it's saying because we still use those words today. We still say darb. It's not like an obsolete word, right?
I mean, there has been. Have you guys seen this video by, I think, Majid Nawaz? He was on LBC, and then there was this woman called him talking about like how she not liked being beaten, but she kind of justified it. And he was, like, asking her
You
to
should watch it. I mean, he asked her 4 times, like, do you think that it's right? And it was just the classic apologist.
This is the woman on the Majid Nawaz LBC thing. Yeah, she can't do it. She can't. You can't ask a Muslim person to say that the Quran, that the word of Allah is wrong. They won't do it.
Yeah,
that's the biggest problem with reform right there. That's what I said to Majid. I said, not even one down and 1.6 billion to go. This is why Armin is always yelling, it's never gonna happen, because you can't convince a Muslim person to
Armin.
but I'm mixed on this. I mean, my position is that I'm quite agnostic. It's like, not that I want to compare it to other religions at the same time, but I see every religious person who is not a mass murderer is not following a literal interpretation of the religion. And that's
sure. Yeah.
All the Islamic religions.
Cherry pick.
So,
correct.
In some extent, reform already exists. I mean, I think what reform is trying to achieve is just to ask people to be cherry picked further.
Yes,
but generally speaking, everyone, I mean, look at Judaism, the Old Testament, and like if a woman is not virgin at her wedding night, should be stoned in her father's door. Most Jews don't do that. I mean, that means reform, even the Orthodox ones. But
most Jews.
So I think that, because we did talk about this before, and I think my view on this was just that if you start reinterpreting individual verses and stuff in the Quran, I don't think that that's sustainable at all. That kind of reform is out. But if you talk about taking the whole Quran and talking about whether it's infallible or not, and maybe demoting it from divine to divinely inspired, or the cherry picking thing, or whatever you do, I think that is something that that's a part of reform that is plausible. It's probably
because that happens already, right?
And that's actually
that happens already. Yeah.
So that's the only way.
Every peaceful Muslim is following the reform version, in my opinion.
Yeah, 10 years ago, this is completely anecdotal, so I don't know what the real situation is. I don't think anybody's really done polling on this over time like this, but like 10, 15 years ago, whenever I used to talk to people about, I was like, well, do you think the Quran is infallible or not? They could not, like, this is Muslims, they just would not entertain the thought that it's not infallible. Like, how could you say that? That's it. They'd get pissed. But now, even a lot of modern Muslims, I say, do you think? He's like, well, yeah, the Prophet probably wrote a lot of it, but he was getting inspiration from God. I mean, I hear that more and more from just regular people in my extended family and some of the friends I grew up with. And I'm not kidding. Like, I've seen this a lot. And
I know like 2 people that believe that.
But it's actually been corrupted over time.
That's one thing that's encouraging to me, and the other thing that's been encouraging, well, there's 3 things. The second thing that's encouraging is that how you had the Danish cartoonist, and then you had Salman Rushdie, and they had to go into hiding and everything. Now you've got so many Muhammad cartoons online that it's just like a run-of-the-mill thing. Like, oh, another Muhammad cartoon. Right, so that's something people have gotten desensitized to.
Yeah. So somebody is saying, and I have a feeling this person is an ex-Muslim, who's saying no believing Muslim accepts the Quran being infallible. That's very odd. I agree that like there are no like I mean I'm talking about like people that are like having premarital sex, drinking alcohol, eating pork, like doing all of the like not living as a Muslim at all. But if you ask them, is the Quran the direct word of God? Of course it is. And if you try to say anything different, they'll freak out at you.
And the way that they think, and I'll tell you, because I went through this phase where, when I was a lot younger when I thought it was the word of God. And there's certain things that I thought, I was like, okay, it's going to be 50-50, right? So when I go on the day of judgment, as long as I have 51%, it's like, when you're like, okay, how much do I need to study to pass this fucking exam? Like, so even if I had 51%, so I thought of all the sins. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have a girlfriend. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Like all the sins, I chose the sins I wanted to do, and I convinced myself. I'm like, okay, this isn't as bad as Hitler, so I'll still go to heaven with this. So that was my standard.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I was like, what? I'm gonna eat some bacon and then I'm gonna be there with Hitler.
Yeah.
Really? Like I thought
Hitler was probably good in the eyes of Islam because he killed Jews.
Yeah, when people ask me now, they're like, what if it's all true? The Pascal's wager. I was telling them, I'm like 100% sure. If I go up there and somehow by some miracle, Islam happens to be true and all that's there, and I'd be like, hey, listen, I'm 100% confident I'm going to heaven. You know, I'll be like, hey, you told me to use your brain. There's nothing. There was no evidence for this stuff, and it was frankly, it was ridiculous. The whole book read like it was a Bollywood script. So
without the bhangra.
Well, actually, Bollywood scripts, some Bollywood scripts. There's a lot of bhangra in there too.
I want to comment on this about like intra discussions.
No offense to Bollywood.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny. Bollywood is funny, but anyway, like I've noticed this. I was at this it was Arab meetup of New York. I don't know when I got there. Oh, they said free food, so I went for free food. So anyway, so there were some Iraqi dudes there. Like, "Hi, shlonek, habibi, shakhbarak," whatever. And then so we're like, oh, how is life in Iraq? We're like bashing Iraq all the way. Like life sucks, terrorism, all of this shit. So anyway, there was this Kuwaiti dude came in and he said the same thing I was saying. And then like all the Iraqi dudes turned on him. It was like, how dare you criticizing Iraq? Like we fucked you up. We ruined your like you guys should be thankful for us. I was like, you guys calm the fuck down. But like then I noticed like the power of tribalism is that between us, quote unquote, because I'm Iraqi and stuff, they felt so normal talking to me about how bad living in Iraq and stuff.
True,
but the guy from Kuwait said the exact same things that we were saying, and then he was bashed for it. So that talks about like, I think there's like, and considering that Islam to some extent has an Arabic influence, if not an Arabic religion in the first place, it created some sort of like a tribalistic nature that even like, so when you ask between us, like maybe Muslims or ex-Muslims, they don't know, do you believe the Quran is infallible, do whatever, they will say no. But then a white guy comes in and tells them like, oh, do you think the Quran is infallible? They're like, no, the Quran is not infallible. What do you mean by it's not infallible? You know? So like there's like a more, because many people, like if you look at someone like Bassem Youssef, and probably you know Bassem Youssef, right? He's
the John Stewart of Egypt, right?
The John Stewart of Egypt, right?
That's a good way.
John Stewart of Egypt. So I debated Bassem Youssef with Linda Sarsour. He was with her at the same panel.
That was the best.
That was a disaster. But anyway, Bassem, if you watch his Arabic show at Barnamij, it's called Barnamij, he is non-stop criticizing the Muslim Brotherhood. He has no issue of criticizing Islamic groups and all of these things. And like recently, he made a very post when the Coptic attack in Egypt happened. The attack on the bus in Egypt that killed about probably like 60 people. And Bassem Youssef went on Facebook in Arabic, bashing the shit out of Azhar and Wahhabis and Salafists, and like he like took them to the ground. They're like angry Arab dude who like went too much on Azhar, like screw you, screw everyone. Okay, but in English, he's like, let's talk about Islamophobia. Let's talk about. So I think, and I actually had this short conversation with Bassem Youssef after the debate, and we were talking about like Western civilization and things like this. and we had like a lot of agreement, and he knew who I am before I debated him. And the moment like some foreign dude came in and like started criticizing, like snapped, Bassem immediately snapped. Defensive. So it's like, I think that it's very important to recognize that there is still a debate between the brown people, for lack of a better word, than they show to outside non-brown people, or Muslims to non-Muslims. It's like the
what you
Muslims
say indoors and what you say
Islam's a
outdoors
race,
are two different
is what
things.
you're saying.
No, I'm not saying it's
I know,
a
I'm
race.
kidding,
No.
I'm kidding.
But
Brown.
what I'm saying is that
It's definitely a tribe, and even ex-Muslims leave
Muslims
the
argue with
religion
each
and they're
other.
still part of the tribe.
yeah, and it's called religious tribalism. I mean, like there is actually a term for that. So like Muslims may argue so much between themselves that many people who are observers and outsiders may not even that exist, because the moment they ask the question, these same Muslims who may agree with them just snap at them on the purely basis of nationalism, on the purely basis of not nationalism but tribalism in that regard. And it was like, who are you, Westerner, telling me what to do? So like that's actually something I've noticed that I found really, really interesting about
So
how people
I'm gonna both of you guys, just the Arabs. This is gonna be a South Asian break. Obaid, our friend Obaid, who's been on the podcast before, said, "If Allah isn't real, how did Pakistan beat India in cricket?"
Pakistan beat India. Well done.
It was the best. I watched it here. My wife and mother-in-law, they were up at 5. We were watching, and it was the best fucking thing. It was a Champions Trophy, and it's so weird. I was
Tariq
thinking,
Fatah must be so pissed off.
Tariq Fatah's obviously really, really pissed off. Right? We have a word for Tariq Fatah in Urdu, and it's duck gun. Okay, so anybody can go and look it up and just ask your friends what it is. I'm not going to elaborate further. However, the cricket match was awesome, and I found myself, like, the thing is, I'm Pakistani, right?
Are you?
I can't stand the whole religiosity thing. I can't stand the fact that it was the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. But when there's a cricket game, I want them to win.
Yes.
And this is like, it's such a it was I think Sabad Zakaria who tweeted about this, and she said the same thing. She's like, the religiosity pisses me off, but I really feel this way when there's a cricket game on, and what kind of mindfuck identity is this? And it is really a conflict at that point, because you're rooting for them. And I loved it. It was awesome. So congratulations to the Pakistani team. You guys, like, stuff like this, sports, Pakistani music. There's a show called Coke Studio that's amazing. No matter what kind of music you're into, you're gonna love it. You can look it up. And the food, there's so many things about it that are great. And I saw a little glimmer.
Food is good. Pakistani food.
I know. And it is different from Indian food.
It is definitely different. Yes.
We eat beef. We dine
Can
on
I
their
tell you
gods.
something really sad, like, and pathetic? So where I live, Punjabi Indians are very popular. So all of our restaurants are like North Indian, like Punjabi food. And I used to get like Pakistani food in the mosque when I would go for like, just whatever, Friday prayers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I miss it so much. I want to like put on a hijab and slip into the mosque one day.
No, it is. There is something. It's weird, like, and it's just when moments like that happen, when that cricket thing happens, it reminds me of a very long time ago when there wasn't all of this crazy bullshit. Or at least it wasn't as insane as it is now, and I didn't feel as dissociated from that as I do now. And it brought a little glimmer of, just the past, when everybody came together because we were all rooting for a cool cricket game, or we were all listening to just a great Pakistani musician, because the music is really amazing, or the barbecue, the beef. I said beef. It's different from India because we dine on their gods, but on the Hindu gods, right? So
yeah, that actually reminds me once. So Iraq and Saudi Arabia are both part of the World Cup. I mean, you guys have the cricket, we have the football. Football is
that's a vessel. Before you go on, I was going to ask you guys: do you have experiences from that other identity, like things that, whether it's music or whether it's literature or something like that, where you listen to it, you're like, damn it, I wish that they would have gotten things right so I could still enjoy this stuff.
Yeah, but can I just give a message to all of our listeners? We have 86 people watching right now, and they're all talking to Lalo, and nobody's paying attention to us. So can y'all leave Lalo alone? This isn't the Lalo show. This is the secular jihadist. Engage with us. You want to talk to him? You can contact him on his podcast.
Can I say something? Guys, listen, if you guys want to know what this show's about, just look at the title of the YouTube video. It's Imam Tawhidi.
That's right.
That's what the show. It's okay. So Imam Tawhidi's on this is so funny. This is labeled Imam Tawhidi. Lalo's basically running the show, and then we're up here.
It's Imam Lalo.
Speaking of mindfuck identities, here we go.
That removes the stress. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Ali, I remember I still identify. I mean, obviously, I'm a complex guy. At least my mom thinks I am, but. I mean, I identify to some extent as Iraqi.
Sorry.
I mean, I identify as Iraqi because it's like, I mean, Iraq itself is identity crisis itself. I mean, I still don't know what Iraq is to begin with. Like, are Kurds Iraqis or whatever? So anyway, so once in the World Cup, I was in, so not the World Cup, the Asian World Cup. So Iraq and Saudi Arabia had the finals.
World, that's Asia.
Asia World Cup.
Asian Cup then.
So that was, I think, in 2006 or 2008, and I was in Damascus back at the time.
Leave Lalo alone, Cameron. Okay, sorry.
What is it? Yeah. The Asian? What did you say? The Asian
World Cup is the football. It's the football. What Jews call it soccer.
I swear, I heard Asian Bra Cup. I'm like, what's he talking about? Anyway, go on.
Yeah,
very small.
So Jewish people call it soccer, but it's called football. So it was a game between Saudi Arabia and Iraq. And I was watching it in a cafe in Damascus, and Iraq won. Eventually, Iraq won, and like I hardly had any in common with many of these Iraqis, to be honest. Many of them were like Southern, like religious. Many of them were religious. I mean, I'm from Baghdad. I'm like the city elitist, like everyone hates and everyone loves. So I had nothing in common with these people most of the time. But Saudi, we had a game against Saudi. And then people were like, fuck, and everyone was like Iraqi at the time, and we burned the Saudi flag.
Everybody hates Saudis.
Yeah, so like we burned the Saudi flag. I didn't burn the Saudi flag, but people were like burning the Saudi flag. Everyone was happy. And
wait,
we all
can you burn the Saudi? The Saudi flag has the.
I know it has Allahu, but who cares, man? Like. I
know. Burnt that in Iraq?
No, Damascus. Like it was like people were burning the Saudi flag, and like. Because
that's why God punished them with ISIS. Yeah, ISIS was
so
punishment for burning the Saudi flag.
I mean, I love the Saudis. Some of them are good people, but so like that was like kind of one of the first time I was like, oh, maybe I'm Iraqi because I have more in common with these people than I have with Saudis. But at the same time, like sorry, Allahu Akbar. I still listen to some Iraqi music here and there. I listen to Saddam music in the morning.
You listen to ISIS songs
in the morning.
If you look at my
has sent me NSA. If you're listening, actually, no, I shouldn't say that.
Okay, so who
knows? But Faisal and I have exchanged like ISIS songs that we thought were melodically terrible. But some of them were good. Yeah, some of them were good.
Yeah. Very nice tone, very nice vibe to them. That gets you excited. Like that's like when I'm in the subway and stuff. I'm like, I want to feel like just woke up in the morning. I want to feel energized. I'm like, listen to some ISIS.
Ryan doesn't believe you. He said they would never allow you to burn the Saudi Arabian flag in Damascus. He says you're full of shit.
Who says that?
He didn't say that. What?
I'm sure many people share his view about me, but I'm not.
No, he didn't say that. I'm just kidding. He said, he's just like, no, Faisal, you did not do that in Damascus.
I did.
Who's saying that?
I don't know.
It was in Jaramana.
Tabra.
His name is Wal Tabra. So if he's Syrian, he will know the area. It's called Jaramana.
Are you Syrian, Wa'il?
So Syrian. So if you want to prove us your nationality, we're gonna fuck you up.
He says, I'm from Syria, man. No way.
No way. Come on, let's have a debate.
I'm not getting in the middle of this eruption. I'm just going to watch you guys fight it out like Israel does.
Yeah, that's actually a good example.
Somebody asked a question.
We actually burned the Saudi flag. I still remember it. It was in Jaraman area, which used to be very populated with Iraqis. And there used to be many Iraqis. I mean, back in the good old days, Syria, Damascus at least, was like the hangout place for Iraqis during the summer, and also kind of a safe space away from terrorist attacks. Yeah, that was a great time. By the way, I love Syria, so while don't get triggered with me. I really enjoyed every time I had with Syria.
What's this? Superwoman did a video about racism. Do you guys know what Sarah Ace is asking us? Does that sound familiar to you guys?
Superwoman is
who is a Superwoman?
Superwoman is a YouTuber that actually. So I guess when we're talking about announcements, I'm gonna do another one. Alishba is making her debut on YouTube, starting with the whole It is.
I can't believe you didn't tell us this before telling us on the podcast live.
I told it was. We were going to. I'll explain to you later what it is. Yeah. So that's gonna.
We get the inside scoop. Come on.
We did shoot the first one.
Alicia's gonna have her own YouTube show.
Yeah, she's gonna. I mean, not like she's gonna basically start her own YouTube show, and it's gonna be. It's pretty. Like, you know, the really, really aggressive ex-Muslim shit.
Literally a lishba. That's
what they had a few years ago. Yeah, just the stuff where even I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, this is like the hitch.
Hardcore.
Please don't compare it to your wife.
That.
She's not aggressive enough. She's like, there's nothing aggressive enough. We need more.
Yes, she's right. Everybody's like, reform.
Come on, Yasmin.
Oh, I'm so happy Alicia's gonna come and just bring it.
So it's gonna be. We did the first.
It'll slap everybody.
Yeah, it's gonna be. So it's gonna be fun. And I forgot. Man. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Leave Brittany alone.
But. Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, so Superwoman was somebody that we were looking at reference videos for, you know, the kind of way that we wanted to do our editing and everything. And Superwoman that's how I found out about Superwoman. So she talks about racism and stuff. She's got a lot of YouTube subscribers. She's pretty good. Well, I don't know if I haven't seen her videos. I know.
Did you see a video that she did about racism? Because that's what the question's about.
What is the question? What about the video on racism?
I don't know. They're just saying what are our opinions on it. I haven't seen it. I've never heard of her.
From Sarah.
Yeah, she does go off on some intense rants, Cameron. She does.
Yeah, that's good. Racism. Yeah, it is. Like she has a lot of enemies and a lot of. I don't know. It's wild. But the racism. We're all against racism. I think that's all I have to say. I don't know what Superwoman.
I'm against racism. I'm against racism and Pakistanis.
Yeah. He hates racism and he hates Pakistanis.
That's right.
Those are the two things that he does not like. Like, if you're
that's actually from a joke. That's from a joke in Syria. That's from a joke.
Slide into Lala's DMs. Oh, you guys like get a room. This is different now. That's a different kind of show.
Yeah. So there is a joke in Syria that says, "I'm against sectarianism and the Alawites." It's so fucking funny.
We didn't see her video about racism, Sarah Ace. Sorry, we can't answer your question.
Yeah, we can't really say that. We just know that
we don't like racism. Lily Singh was so pathetic and condescending in that video. We still don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know who Lily Singh is.
Bosch Faustin is the most caustic ex-Muslim. Every other ex-Muslim is left of Bosch. Okay.
Okay. Do you know what this is, Bosch Faustin? There's a lot of people we don't know.
Some guy says
we're out of touch. We're like the elite ex-Muslims.
Are we like the old people?
We're like the elitist ex-Muslims. That's what we are. We're out of touch
with
the
regular people. What are you kids talking about? Get off my lawn.
We're like the Hillary Clintons of ex-Muslims. Completely out of touch with the common man. I mean,
like Mitt Romney when he was like, I have to drive like 3 miles to get my arugula.
Oh my God. So Lily Singh is Superwoman.
Oh, wow.
This is blowing my mind right now. In any case, let's do one more question. Let's get out of here.
He draws Muhammad cartoons. That's why he's so. Lily Singh is Superwoman, but she makes mostly comedy. Okay, sorry, we don't know who that is.
We'll definitely check her out because I know that we did reference some of her videos for when we were working on our project. So that's still.
We should have Alishba on as a guest to talk about her new YouTube show.
We will, and we'll do that. We're just in a few weeks once it debuts and we're close to it. We're definitely gonna do it.
Okay, and speaking of YouTubers, somebody, Shoe on Head, did a really great YouTube video where she was responding to some other YouTuber, which I don't know who that is.
What is that real name?
That's her at. I don't know what her name is. Sorry, I'm not like up with the kids and the funky children and the hip YouTube people. But
stop insulting
somebody
whites.
sent it to me. Somebody said she's actually Italian, so she's like light brown. But somebody sent it to me, and he thought I would like it, and he was absolutely correct. That was Skeptical Canuck, and loved it. I loved every single minute of it. Her name is June. Faisal's saying. Not Faisal, sorry, Lalo. I'm getting my boys mixed up. There's too many of you. Anyway, she did a fantastic job of just talking about responding to this other YouTuber who was like super, super regressive and talking about feminism and Islam and stuff. Anyway, really great video. And I'm actually intrigued now to start watching YouTubers. It makes me happy. It makes me happy that Lacey Green has contacted me. I mean, it makes me happy to know. Yeah, it makes me happy to know that the far left.
Lacey Green. I would love to have Lacey Green on the show because she actually had the change of mind recently.
Yeah,
wait, Lacey Green contacted you?
Yeah, she did, and I'm going to be on her show. So it's really great to see that people from that wing that were just like, are now like willing to listen to us.
So I actually know about Lacey Green, and I'll tell you how I know about her. I completely missed all of the stuff in the middle. It was just, I think it was in 2008 or 2009 or something. She made a video called "Why Should Atheists Care? Why do atheists care about religion?" And it's one of the most badass atheist videos you will see. Like, she just goes into the whole thing about how, what atheists have to.
Lacey Green, not Nancy Green.
No, I'm talking about Lacey Green.
No, somebody in the comments. Sorry.
Right. So, and if you can look that up, you should watch it. It's many years old. I think that's how she kind of started out. And it was this whole thing about why atheists should care about religion. And it was a total diatribe against religious people and why atheists care about it. And then what happens in the middle, all this stuff happened with all of her other videos, and I haven't really been following her. And then recently, I think she's and now Yas, you're gonna be on our show.
Armin is here at the airport. Hello, Armin. Hello.
Armin's at the airport. Don't say what airport. I know he's leaving there, but still.
Armin is somewhere on the planet.
I muted him.
Oh, poor Armin.
Undisclosed location. This is actually really important, guys. I'm not kidding. Like, it's especially.
Armin is muted, so we don't listen to you because you're.
The regressive left her for whose blood? For Lacey Green's blood? That's terrible. I'm really proud of her. She's awesome. I mean, I also got contacted by Lily. What's her name? Lily Allen. And then that didn't go very far.
Guys, can we agree to have Lacey Green on the show?
Yeah, we would love to have Lacey Green. She's actually half Iranian. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know that she was half Iranian. Yeah.
She's super blonde.
Yeah, but I think her mom is Mormon, which reminds me of my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hi, Yasmin.
My ex-girlfriend is Iranian.
I admire you so much. Thank you, Maria Avalon. I love you too. Maria loves me.
That's good. Like, we all love you.
So Lacey Green. It's a Lacey Green, Cameron. Lacey with an L. L-A-C-I.
I can't wait till you. I've always liked her, actually. There are some SJWs.
My daughter's a huge fan.
No, yeah, and she's actually, when it comes to a lot of the sex-positive feminism, I actually really, really like her. That's one part of. There's a lot of parts of the.
That's your Shia. That's your Shia part.
Calling her Stacy and Macy and like.
Yeah. So let's go to the last question. Let's go to the last question because I think it's 1 a.m.
Would you please come to Toronto someday? Well, Faisal, Ali lives there, so he's there all the time.
That's Noam Suboni. So he's one of the guys who's involved in the whole Alishba YouTube project. So
you should know.
Yeah, he's great.
Noam, I'm sorry, I'm going to totally embarrass you now. He's also part. No.
Speaking of which, let's do our event maybe one day in Toronto. So now maybe you can help us like make an event in Toronto.
This is from Students in Support of Free Speech, who are fantastic.
Yeah, his and his
Hi,
friend.
Armin. Can you see the chat? Poor Armin has to wave.
Faisal and I have done an event with them that they shot actually with CFI, and Armin and I recently did too. So
Why can't I unmute Armin? Yeah, I think you have to unmute yourself, Armin.
Oh,
Of course I
okay.
didn't vote
Hi.
for Trudeau. Well, do I look like an idiot? What kind of a question is that?
yeah. Yasmin, they want to
Guess that
know
would
if you
be
voted
fun.
for Trudeau.
Yeah, no, of course not.
No? You didn't.
Actually, like I did this.
I did.
I vote for app, and you can ask you policy questions, and I had like 80% in common.
I am coming to Portland, Adam. I'll be there in September. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I had like 80% in common with Trudeau party, the Liberal Party.
Well,
Yeah.
it's hard. Yeah.
I voted for
when I did it-
for Trudeau.
When
Yeah,
I did
so did
it,
I.
I ended up 99% that I should vote for Hillary. So these things.
Oh, I would have voted for Hillary too.
Well, I would have voted for her too, of course, because the other option was Trump. So there's no real option. But I mean that but in Canada, I ended up being NDP, which is the middle. For those of you who aren't familiar with Canadian politics, we've got basically we've got the Liberals and we've got the Conservatives and we've got the NDP that are in the middle.
Well, no.
And when I did that same test.
The NDP is more like the Bernie. It's more further left. And then the Liberals are, the Liberals are sort of fiscally conservative, socially liberal, and the Conservatives are like.
I am that liberal. So when I did the test in America, I was liberal, and when I did it in Canada, I was NDP. So I thought that was indicative of the fact that Canada is so far left that when I'm here, my far leftness actually ends up becoming middle.
Yeah, no, Trudeau's actually the moderate. NDP's more sort of Bernie style. Trudeau and his party is more sort of Hillary style. He's just like really nice looking.
NDP is further left, everybody's saying. Okay, so I guess I'm just like an alt-left, diamond. And that's why I have purple hair.
But my thing the thing with Trudeau, like he's very wrong, like Obama, like Hillary, like everybody else on that one big issue, and that's very significant. And I hope that ultimately, as our voices become louder, I hope that's going to change. But the problem is that he's right on almost everything else. Okay, so he's conservative when it comes to the economics, and his party is generally liberals. I align with. That's my personal opinion, and that's why I vote liberal. My brother votes conservative.
Yes, and the province of BC liberals are like conservatives. This is absolutely true because our Christy Clark is absolutely deplorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But guys, by the way, I do think that on the Muslim issue, I don't really care if they get it right or not, because I really think that's our job to get it right.
I agree.
Government.
No, come on. That's a very idealistic thing to say.
It's kind of their job too. When
No.
40,000
I think what Armin's saying, and I'll try to explain this further because he's at an undisclosed location, and he just triggered everybody.
He is an idiot. Thought 39. I agree.
But I think what Armin's saying is that politicians go for people who have influence. Right now, CARE and all these guys have a lot of influence. We don't have a lot of influence. So it is up to us to build our thing from the grassroots, get together, strengthen numbers, organize, and move up to a point where we're a significant enough voice for politicians to look at us and say, okay, I do want to kiss your ass. I do want to pander to you.
Yeah.
And I will listen to your policy proposals.
Yeah. We have to do that. I agree, Ali,
us.
but you know what? It can't be ex-Muslims. It has to be all atheists. It has to be all.
Well, it has to be a secular. It has to be a secular initiative, right? So we can't. That's one of the problems with the word ex-Muslim. It's great as a descriptor, and I think it's very accurate as a descriptor. But if you're going to have any kind of political influence, any kind of lobbying influence, you need to have an ex-Muslim. Just comes out as a very sort of activist-y term that's not all-encompassing, and we need to completely. When we're doing organizational stuff.
But not all ex-Muslims are secular.
Yeah, and the thing with secular, we're already a secular country.
Many ex-Muslims are Christian. That's why I think Faisal's title for his organization, Ideas Beyond Borders, they're inspirational and they're inclusive of everybody. If you had it's like British Muslims for Secular Democracy. There's a group called British Muslims for Secular Democracy.
But what do we call ourselves as a voting group? What are we?
North American
rational people.
Yes.
Rational people, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know, like there is this woman, I think it's Wafat Sultan or Guni Darwish. She was like touched by Jesus Christ. I don't want these people touched by Jesus Christ. Like she's an ex-Muslim. She left Islam, but she believes in like fucking like.
This is a good point. Allied
cocaine
atheist
versus the meth.
you're right. Ex-Muslim can sometimes include current people that are Christian or communist or all sorts of things that we don't, Scientologists, that we don't identify with. So ex-Muslims is not the right.
This is why no organization speaks for atheists or ex-Muslims. Like secular jihadists speaks for only secular jihadists, right? Any organization shouldn't act like they're a representative of a giant major group, because we only speak for ourselves and our members.
Right, but I'm talking about as a voting group, there's no such thing like politicians aren't going to care about secular jihadists.
They might.
Right? So we just want to be like, as a voting group, what are we? Why should politicians care to pander to us? In the US, Muslims are 1% of the population, but the politicians pander to them. Mm-hmm. We are something. We are a something, and we are a certain percentage. How do we get them to take notice of us, what our needs are and what our values are? We have to have.
But nobody listens to atheists in general in America.
Yeah,
even though
right.
Atheists make up 30% of the United States population. I think 30% of the people
what
under
are
40.
We then? What do we call ourselves? Non-religious people?
But yeah, like atheists. No, it's like I don't know. I think rational people.
Like it could be something like North American something secular, something for from Muslim backgrounds, or
not Muslim background. All of us, all of us that are the rational thinkers that are in the quote unquote new center, whatever.
Oh, you're talking about that.
Yeah, because we're not as Muslims, nobody gives a shit to pander to us because we're such as far as politicians are concerned, because we're such a small group. Politicians are only going to be concerned about bigger groups when their votes matter, right?
I think secular is a word.
I don't think we could call ourselves rationalists, because then everybody is going to claim that. Like,
I know. Obviously, I'm trying to find something.
No, Armin. I think secular is the word to use. The reason for that is that secular can theoretically, by definition, can include even liberal religious people. Right, because all it is separation of church and state, or separation of religion and state, but at the same time, connotationally,
humanists.
It's humanists or it's atheists, right? So
humanists might work, because the thing with the secularism is that it's in our Constitution, it's in our Bill of Rights. Like, I don't know how we're going to separate that. Like that's true.
So I agree with you. I think humanist is
so maybe humanists would be a better word.
I mean, I think as a person of color, I'm against labels.
Well, we all are.
No, but
we're talking about political, not just politicians, but media too. They have to know that we're important. They have to know that what we want and what our values are and what our ideas are, they matter, and they need to be paid attention to. We're totally, completely, all over the
fragmented.
Place. Thank you. That's exactly the ESL guy gives the native speaker.
I just want to correct you on something, Yasmin. I want to correct you on something.
Political Action Committee, like something like that. I really like that idea of humanists.
Yeah, me too.
But
that's how it should be.
Like you said that Muslims make 1% of the US population. That's correct. Maybe more, 2 or 3%. But Muslims also in the United States have a lot of interest with many Muslim countries as well. So like Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and oil fields and oil companies. So they have to pander and not antagonize the Muslims,
right.
Because there is more foreign policy related issues than just the Muslims who live in America. Just wanted to clarify that.
But still, if we're 30% of the population, that's a hell of a lot. Like we should matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like Ali has a sperm, and like there's some other podcasts that talk about Ali being terrible. So like that is the problem of like with free thoughts people is like there is. I mean, when I came into America, I came in 2013. I was going to conferences, and I was seeing the conferences decline.
Are you going to elaborate on the fact that Ali has a sperm? Or are you going to?
Yeah. No, actually, I will let Ali speak for that later. But so I was going to conferences and stuff like this, and at the beginning, it used to be called the atheist movement. So people come around the atheist world, non-theism, lack of belief, whatever. But then there was another movement called Atheism Plus, which is that it's not enough to be an atheist. You have to add social justice and feminism into it. And then there are people
fuck that noise.
Black Lives Matter. There are people who wanted to be anti-Black Lives Matter. And then so within a period of time, a clash of civilization started between the atheist movement, in which now atheists are very disorganized. They're very fragmented, or at least I won't say atheists are disorganized, but the atheist movement in general are very fragmented. Everyone hates everybody. CFI versus American Association versus Richard Dawkins versus Sam Harris. So like, unfortunately, that's kind of when you like dogma, sometimes it's difficult to get people around to one ideology because everyone claims to be anti-dogma. While with religious people, they have the privileges that they can be united around dogmatic beliefs. And they also, from my observation from living in America for 4 years, I see that the rights, or even the Christian right, is actually more forgiving of people than leftist atheists of their own people. So, for example, like many Christian evangelicals were willing to vote for Donald Trump, even though most likely the guy is not religious. Most likely the guy he made so many sins. But the left, if you disagree with them on one specific thing, they forget to look at the big picture, and you are a xenophobic, racist, Islamophobic, phobic, and then, so like the Bernie Bros incident, in which there are people who are willing, living in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in all these important swing states, they were willing not to vote or vote for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson, who is the complete opposite side. He's like libertarian. He's not even left. They were willing to vote for him just because Hillary gets money from Wall Street, or just because, while the lefts, I think within America, probably the same for Canada. I don't know much about Canada, but I think the left, and consider that the atheist movement is mostly left-leaning, it has a very intolerant attitude. It's that you're either with us or you are with Satan. In which if you say like, oh, I support lower taxation or I support this, no, you are the fucking devil. You hate the poor. You hate this. You hate that. But the Christian right was willing to forgive Trump grabbing women by the pussy, Trump not even being religious, Trump going to...
Yeah, but I don't know if I put atheists... I know they're supposed to be atheists and liberal are technically the same group, but I see them as differently. I see the atheists...
No, they're not. Anne Rand was a pretty hardcore atheist.
Yeah,
right.
But like
I don't
many
see them
American
as
atheists are left-leaning.
That's
Richard
correct.
Spencer is an atheist.
They are, but not all of them are. There are a lot of left-leaning people.
Armin.
Let's mute this
Let's just mute this guy here.
Oh no! Do you want to say something? He wanted to say something.
Oh, you wanted to say something? Okay.
No. After Yas. Yas was finishing some. After Yas.
I was just gonna see atheists as a separate group than I see leftists. Like these people that you're describing now that are like, if you don't agree with me, then you're Hitler. Those are leftists, but I don't think atheists treat us that way. Or treat each other that way.
You know, the PC culture is an overreaction to real bigotry and real discrimination that was happening, right? But usually when there is a pushback against real concerns, there's an overcorrection. And now that this overcorrection is happening, there's a pushback against PC culture, and I think this pushback is also going to start overcorrecting.
Inshallah.
So it's going to be, but no, it's going to be too much of a correction. Like for example, right now we see like people that are not Nazis and they're not bigots are being called bigots, and we're like, well, that's bullshit. This person is making a point. He's not a bigot. But there's going to be, I think, the overcorrection is going to be that actual bigots and actual white supremacists. Sometimes we're going to jump. A lot of us, not me, not you guys, but a lot of people from our side, we're going to like, no, don't call this guy a bigot, and we're going to be like, no, wait, this is actually a bigot, right?
You're right. The pendulum just swings far left, far right, far left, far right.
Well, there's, I mean, you're already seeing that, like in South Korea, there's this far left guy who's been elected president. There's in Mexico, the same thing's happening. A Hugo Chavez type guy is being elected. So this is a backlash towards the whole Trump and Brexit effect that's already in place.
Being elected in North Korea?
South Korea.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is, the problem is like he wants to make an alliance with China, he's like sort of got communist leanings. The guy in Mexico is like a Hugo Chavez guy, and this is in response to their whole thing with Trump. And now France has France's president Macron. He's also a reaction to that. Merkel has a higher chance of being reelected in Germany than she did before, even though that whole thing was, her whole ship was sinking. So there's backlashes and there's backlashes to backlashes, and there's this idea that the left is that because the left isn't accepting of ex-Muslims and because they're completely hypocritical, which they totally are, and we've all talked about that a lot. That the right is going to accept us. And like I said, Breitbart featured me in 2014, and Richard Spencer would probably really like to have us on his show. A lot of people on the right.
I don't know if Richard Spencer necessarily would, because we have brown skin. So.
Well, I mean, because
my
we
way
talk
is
about
like,
Muslims, right? There's a lot of these far right figures, right? Like I get it all the time. I've gotten invitations from the Blaze. I've gotten invitations from Ezra Levant here in the
Rebel TV.
in Canada.
Armin was on Rebel TV.
Yeah, Rebel TV's that was a great interview, by the way.
It was a fantastic interview. And you know what? In Canada, conservative media is just like center rational media compared to America, really. Like, we don't have any Breitbart type far left stuff. Our far left is still pretty rational.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think we're definitely in a better spot, but there are people who just want to kind of use your voices, and that's not the kind of support I want. I know that there's a lot of sort of right-wing, crazy, evangelical Christian type of people who would love to have us on, and just because they're like, hey, we're going to give you a voice, you're ex-Muslims, we're going to give you a voice, come here, and Jesus is the savior of everybody, and Mary is wonderful.
Nobody's falling for it though, right? It's like, there are no Muslims.
And we
people are always complaining. They're always like, oh, you guys are going to be used as tools, but we're not actually. There aren't any ex-Muslims.
That's why we're doing this, so we don't get used as tools. And I get
but we're very. I don't think we're being fooled into that though. The way that people there's like this narrative that we are. I don't think we are.
Yeah, but a lot of people try to, though. They try to do that. They're like, hey, listen, why aren't you going why aren't you going to Breitbart? Why aren't you going to all these right-wing things? Because they're the ones, at least they're giving you a platform. Like, well, yeah, they're giving me a platform. I don't want that platform. That's not why.
But that's a bad way to think about it. I'm sorry. Like, so let me give you a personal.
I mean, I'll do the interviews. I don't care about that. I'll go on, but I don't want to be associated or have an alliance with.
No, I mean, association is different. But for example, let me give you an example that I really touched my heart, and I don't really have a heart, but my heart is black. What's up? Yes.
Somebody got called an Islamophobe for liking and retweeting me with Courtney Love, Linda Sarsour, by a gay Iraqi immigrant, no less. The left is eating itself. That gay Iraqi immigrant is an idiot, and you are not an Islamophobe, James. James is one of our very first.
But you are a homophobe for criticizing a gay Iraqi immigrant.
And also
xenophobic, homophobe, but not an Islamophobe.
James is one of our very first patrons.
Mm.
So let me share this story, because I think it's very important about this subject we're talking about. So
something touched his heart. He's talking about something that touched his heart.
Yeah, and I don't really have a heart. I mean, I have a black heart that doesn't really like.
Faisal has four feelings, right? Gassy, hungry, horny, and I think sleepy. I think that's the four ones that have some common overlap with the seven dwarves.
Gassy, hungry, horny.
Those are the feelings that Faisal. We're Arab and South Asian men. We don't have the cry at movies type of 21st century masculinity. We're old school.
We just blow ourselves up when we get angry.
We love you,
so
Jay.
Anyway,
get love here.
So like when the refugee ban happened, when the travel ban about Iraq and stuff, and I made big fuss about it, and I showed up on almost every media source that gave me invitation, right wing, left wing, whatever. And I showed up also on Dave Rubin to talk about the subject. So anyway, like in 2 days or 3 days, I started getting emails from Trump supporters. Like I get about like 80 to 90 emails from Trump supporters who were completely for the ban. And they're like, Faisal, like, because I listened to your story and I listened to what you are saying and the values you stand for, I am now against the refugee ban. I'm serious. I got like between 80 to 90 emails, and that did not happen because it was a fine interview with CNN or ABC News or whatever. It happened because I went on. I speak the same message regardless of the channel I'm on. Like whether it's left wing, right wing, whatever. I just go and make the person interviewing me is irrelevant. They ask me questions. I just say my mind, and I think it's. And what happened, like I was telling them that like I was focusing on national security. I care about America. I love America. At the same time, I think we have to be compassionate or whatever my narrative is. And I was able to change 80 to 90 Trump supporters and that did happen because I showed up on right-wing media.
Well, okay, good point.
Oh no, I'm saying we should.
It's very important we should show up and not be like, because these are the most people who need change. I mean, we'll talk about the polarization, right? Let's go to the
that's
people.
What we're saying about Armin's interview, right? On the Rebel Media, Armin's interview was amazing, and I'm glad he went on. And I actually went on the Sun a whole bunch of times. The Sun is basically
not really left wing though, or right wing.
No, not left, but it was sort of like the Fox News of Canada. This is before Trump, so at that time it was really right wing. Now it's probably like hippie channel. But they had, and I used to go on there on the Michael Corn show all the time. And then, the whole Breitbart thing, all of this stuff. And I think we should go on. We need to do those interviews. And we need to leave both and my rule is, and I've talked about this off the air, is that, if I go on a conservative type channel, I need to leave them feeling uncomfortable and challenged about some of their positions. And if I go on a left-wing channel, like whenever I went on HuffPost Live, I'd always try to leave them uncomfortable. I talk about the regressive left and I talk about their liberal hypocrisy. And
we just say what we want to say. We just say our piece regardless of what kind of media we're on.
Yeah, but I think we also should be a little mindful of the motives of the channel. A lot of times these people have certain motives and they want you to say certain things, and we have to make sure that we stay true to ourselves and say what we say, as you're saying, rather than give them what they want to hear, right? And
another technique I've learned.
We should go to those shows, but I'm just saying that I don't want to be associated with people like, why don't you support Breitbart because they're helping you, they're giving you a platform. Like, no, I don't want to support Breitbart just because they're giving me a platform. As you said, or no, I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was you. I can't remember who said it, but there's loads of people who would be willing to give us platforms, right? Who are very unsavory. And they're very actually hyper-religious. There are many sort of crazy right-wing Orthodox Jewish people who, like Judaism groups that would want to do that, who are also pretty insane. There's right-wing evangelical Christian groups who would want to do that, give us things because, they have an anti-Islam, anti-Muslim agenda. And they would, and we might agree with them on a lot of things. Like, Trump,
just
we agree with him.
Buddy. I mean, I think it's like
that's it. That's it.
Speak your mind is like. I once 2 years ago I spoke in 3 churches in Alexandria, Virginia, and Washington D.C. and the churches invited me to speak, and I was like, guys, I'm an atheist. I think religion is a joke, and here's my perspective. And I don't give 2 fucks. Like I say the same thing if I show up on left-wing media. It's like, just speak up your mind, stay to the message, stay to your true principles. And I think I want us, like at least the 3 of us and Armin as well, to go, because people listen to these. There are millions of people who listen to private. Unfortunately, they do. I mean, I would love them to listen to a more respectable news source, but there are millions of people to listen to this. There are millions of people who think that, quote unquote, the mainstream media, they call it the lamestream media, which is bullshit, is not really representative of what they do or what they believe in. I think it's important to reach out to everyone and try to make. So there are polar opposites, right? There's the far right, there's the far left. I want to bring both of them to reason. I want the right wing to become reasonable. I want the left wing to become reasonable. I'm not partisan. I don't really. All I want is when I have an election, I have 2 choices to choose from. I mean, I might vote Republican. I also have Republican principles, and I also have Democratic principles. If there is a good choice, I mean, let me be. Now I'm off record, right? If it was between Marco Rubio and Hillary Clinton, I would have voted Marco Rubio. If it was Hillary and Trump, I would have voted Trump. Like, there are so many things that, like, I would actually, except Ted Cruz, which I really despise, except Ted Cruz, I would have voted for all Republicans against Hillary Clinton. But because she
Yeah,
was
I
against Trump,
probably
I had to
wouldn't
go
have.
for
I think
Trump.
there's some, but
But like what I'm saying is that I can belong to many political different categories, and I may change my mind based on the situation and doing cost benefit analysis on what policies that impact me and impact the world the most. And we have, in my opinion, is like we have to reach out to as many people as possible, not go to this partisan lines of, oh, we have to do the left and we have to do the right. And like, fuck this shit. This is like, this politics existed before we even were born. Okay. So I'm not going to come to America 2013 and like, okay, I have to pick a side. Which type of I should love New Yorkers over Texans, and I should like love California over. No, I'm an American. I live here. I would reach out to any American, somebody who's an American who watches TV. Bring them to reason. Give them my perspective. Let's get away from this partisan politics, right wing, left wing. This was all Jewish conspiracy. We should not fall into it.
yeah, I think that's a really good
example.
example, that especially the Marco Rubio example you gave, because like I would probably, if I'm not American, but if I was, I would probably still vote Hillary. But there's this recent thing. So Marco Rubio, for instance, like one thing that turned me off about him is he actually doesn't even believe in abortion in the case of rape, incest. He doesn't. He says that you shouldn't be able to abort. So that's one problem. But then on the other hand, Marco Rubio
works for the Muslim Brotherhood. So yeah, let's choose which cancer you would like to have. I mean, obviously, yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so it depends on what your experience is and what your story is. So if you're in that situation, that's something you care about, then you would be completely against Marco Rubio no matter what. However, Marco Rubio is also the only U.S. senator who's come out like publicly and over again for his support for Raif Badawi and against Saudi Arabia. And he said it, and I'm friends with Raif Badawi. Faisal, you're friends.
Can I say that I actually contributed to some of that? Can I take the credit? Actually,
What?
organization movements.org, we played a role in connecting Raif Badawi to Insaf Haidar and getting her story out there. So to part of why Michael Rubio actually take care of Raif Badawi is mostly because of the guy you see in this podcast.
That's fantastic.
That's good. That's amazing. And I know that Marco Rubio Press, like even on Twitter, like they follow me, they follow you. So I know that they're actually listening to us as well. So it just depends on your experience. On the other hand, if you're somebody who has been a victim of incest or rape, and you listen to him, like you would probably find him completely abhorrent. So that's the thing with these issues. It has to be issue by issue. It can't be a person. There's always going to be a person who's going to have some position that you'll just be like, ew, that's gross.
That's why we're not religious anymore. We left the religion because we don't want to make
don't believe in infallibility.
For the prophet that we're following, right? Yeah.
Right. We can't just go on and do the taqleed.
People did that to me when they were like, how do you support Majid Nawaz when he's for the burqa and you are for the burqa ban? Like, how is that possible? I was like, I don't have prophets.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Majid Nawaz is for the burqa,
everything that Majid Nawaz says, right? Like, I can still respect him and support him and be in solidarity with him, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to follow every single word that he says, like, Majid Akbar. Like, it's just silliness.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like we don't have a dogma. We think, we do cost-benefit analysis. We try to assess things based on principle and based upon the harm they do and the benefit they do. Yes, I mean, my advice.
We don't disagree with each other.
I mean, when the people criticize me for the Rubio thing, and they criticize me for some other stuff, I'm like, listen, if Rubio is willing to help people like Raif Badawi, I'm not going to say no, but he is this on climate change, or I'm not. Like, if you want to be healthy, let's go beyond these partisan lines and just focus on, in my opinion, I mean, one of my major missions, get our secularism in the Middle East, get people from the West to support these secularists. This is one of the things I deeply care about because I was on the receiving end. I was living in Iraq.
I mean, unless it's from a very, very, very sinister group, like suppose if the KKK is coming up and supporting Raif Badawi, then obviously because their ideology is so mainly.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like the KKK would never support.
No, but the point, I'm giving you an example. I'm supposing if they did, then that is the kind of support that I think you should reject. Like in this case of what I was saying about Breitbart earlier, right? But I think that when you have somebody like a Republican senator, like Republicans, this problem that each side is completely evil. And that's a huge, but this is something that exists on Twitter.
I'm trying to read the chats. Don't be rude to me, Gela ID. Okay, sorry.
I don't even know if that has to do with us, but on Twitter this happens. Like the other side is completely evil. Is decided like as if half of the country, and this is a problem. If you think that all Republicans are completely evil, if the Republicans think that all Democrats are totally against U.S. values, fundamental values, then what you're doing is you're dismissing half the country as your enemy. That means half the country is your enemy, right? If Twitter was what the world was like, which thankfully it's not, then half of the population would be not just someone who disagrees with you, who you can get along with, but your enemy, malintentioned, evil, and that's one of the problems of the polarization.
I mean, demonization. The concept of demonization is that the other guy is complete evil, and I mean, I
should we answer some of the questions, you guys?
Yeah. But this is actually one of the problems with having Trump on top too, right? Because he does this. It's like, we got to destroy our enemies, not just like he wants to completely. I think Bill Maher had a guest who was talking about it. But hey, let's do one question, then let's get out of here.
Yeah. Well, this question I'm looking at is super short. It's saying, how do you say Allah's not great in Arabic? Allahu laysa akbar. Right?
Okay.
How would you Allahu mish akbar? How would you say it, Faisal?
Yeah, Allah laysa akbar. Yeah, Allah laysa akbar.
So that's a very.
But let's take a better. That's like a very ridiculous question.
Okay, it's a ridiculous question, BJ Price.
So BJ Price.
Let's find a less ridiculous question. I think Majid would take it back to the Hadith. Muhammad's wives were only the ones who were required to wear the full burqa. No, Majid's issue was liberalism. He's saying, like, as liberal human beings, it is un-British of us to ever tell people what to wear and what not to wear.
But
I have a couple of responses to Majid, and he knows this because I've spoken with him about it. My first one is, we already tell people what to wear, what not to wear. Why are we pretending like we never do? People aren't allowed to walk around naked. So let's not just act as if the government has no restrictions on what people wear and what they don't wear. Second of all, he knows, because he's lived in Muslim majority countries, he knows that the niqab causes security issues commonly. It is super common. And really, you guys, think about it. If you tell the population you're allowed to cover your face, obviously the criminals are going to be very happy about that. Duh. They're going to
they already have. They've used that. They
use that all the time. It's so common in the Muslim
world. In Pakistan, yeah, they use it all the time. The other thing,
all the time. And Majid, that's not going to be a surprise to Majid. He knows that. He knows that when you tell people you're allowed to cover your face, that it's going to mean that criminals are going to have a way to get away with something as simple as stealing a purse, down to like raping and killing children, which also just happened in Pakistan. So all across the board, all of your security systems become obsolete when the person is covered from head to toe. When you see somebody walking in, whether they're wearing an Antifa balaclava on their face, whether they're wearing a niqab, whether they're wearing a ski mask, it's going to make you concerned. You're going to be like, what's going on? Why is that person covering their face? And if you treat one differently than the other, then I don't know what's wrong with you. But it's a normal human reaction that when somebody is covering their face, that you're going to be nervous about what's happening here. And then there's the argument. Hold on, let me just finish. There's also the argument that it's a religious thing and that we should allow religious people to have their religious freedom. Okay, I call bullshit on that, because 2 out of the 5 pillars of Islam do not even allow the niqab. You're not allowed to wear niqab while you pray. Allah does not accept a woman's prayers if her face is covered. I know this. I wore niqab for 5 years. And you're not allowed to go to Hajj. You're not allowed to do certain parts of Hajj or Umrah if you're wearing niqab. So if it was so Islamic, then why are 2 out of the 5 pillars not allowing the niqab? It's not. This is a fringe extension, a fundamentalist part of Islam. It is not the actual Islam. It has nothing to do with religious freedom. And even if it did, I don't care. The same rules apply to everybody, whether you believe in a fairy in the sky or whether you don't. These are the rules of the land. You don't cover your face. You don't cover your face. I don't care who you are. That's my 2 cents.
One thing, just for reference, in terms of Majid, what he was talking about in the Quran, just a factual thing, is in Surah 33, it actually says that the verse that talks about pulling your veil over your bosoms and all that, that is actually directed to the wives of the Prophet. So
and that's her
I think
bosom. That's not her
that
face.
was his. Yeah, that was his reference for. That's what's interpreted as the hijab commandment, and in that surah, it's actually directed to the wives of the Prophet. So that's why he's saying that it's only for the wives of the Prophet. So he's looking at it very, as it's written, and that's, I think, the reference that he was talking about. But I pretty much agree with the vast majority of what you said. So
yeah, same here. Same here, Yasmin. I think you made a great point. I mean, it
Thanks,
is mostly a security issue. If you're not allowed to wear Darth Vader costume going to the New York Times building, burqa should not be allowed as well. Just because someone gives a religious justification doesn't mean anything. Security is more important. And also human interaction is based a lot on physical appearance and people able to see each other's faces. To deny that is to deny so much of human interaction. So that may sound radical for me to say, but I am for banning the burqa.
Me too.
And hijab, fine. Hijab, like, we can criticize modesty culture, but people should be allowed to wear it. They can go to work to wear it. They can go to the Congress and wearing it. But when it comes to niqab and hiding face in general, I would not allow a KKK member with his costume to come to my building or to come to. So no KKK costumes, no burqas. They're both hiding faces. They're both, people cannot know what this person is. They're hiding a gun. They're gonna kill somebody. No. So
and it's the government. I just want to say one more thing, Ali. It's the government's first and foremost concern is the safety of their citizens. And so what you were saying, Faisal, is absolutely true. Regardless of who they are, they should not be covering their face in public spaces. Yeah.
I'm just, for the record, and I'm not going to go into this too much because I think, as obviously you have a personal experience with this, and I think you have more, obviously more credibility when it comes to this. But I don't agree with a complete ban on the burqa just because of civil liberties principles. I think that it should be regulated, and on that I agree with everything. I think if you're going into a bank, you shouldn't be wearing it. Government buildings, if you're teaching in a school, you shouldn't be wearing it. If you walk into a building, they should search you. They should make sure that you are who you are. They should look at you under the burqa, and then after that you can go around and eat under your veil, whatever. But I think that I think regulation is probably a better word for me personally than ban.
That is, I've heard that, but that's a gray area logistical nightmare for the authorities to try and deal with. So you're not allowed to wear it in schools, but you're allowed to wear it in malls, but you're not allowed to wear it in parks where there are children, but you're allowed to wear it on the beach or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you're putting so much stress on the authorities to keep track of this, and it's going to cause a lot of, I just feel like it's just easier. Like, why are we trying to make allowances for this right now? Why are we even doing that? We wouldn't make allowances if somebody said, I want to wear my Antifa balaclava.
I actually, so this is the thing, like, I actually think that if somebody wants to walk around in a KKK hood, yes, they're going to be spat at and everything, but I think if they want to, and if you're in a position where it's not a security issue.
It's always a security issue. Somebody covering their face is always a security issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then
we agree to disagree on this, huh?
The other thing, a couple of other things that people bring up is they say, oh, what about these niqabis? And they're not going to be able to go to work and go to the beach. It's like, do you really think that niqabis are like going to be restricted now because they're not allowed to go out with a niqab on? They're already restricted. They're already imprisoned. I only left the house to go to the doctor. That was it. You don't, when you're of that kind of fundamentalist Muslim, you're not going to work. You're not going to school. You're not hanging out with the rest of society. You're already restricted. In fact, saying that she's not allowed to wear the niqab allows her the freedom to be a human being, because she can say, well, you know what? I would love to please Allah and my husband and wear the niqab, but I can't because it's the law. So therefore, it's giving her freedom.
Yeah, I'm just uncomfortable overall with the idea of a ban, because I sort of I'm just uncomfortable with bans on clothing. Like, for instance, like, one thing where I would advocate a ban of something that's done for religious reasons, right, and doesn't have medical benefits, is circumcision, right? Of when you circumcise boys. But it's really strange. Like in France, they've banned the hijab, not just the niqab and burqa. They've banned the hijab for religion as an image of religious symbolism. But at the same time, when people talk about banning circumcision on baby boys, right, who are perfectly healthy and there's no surgical indication, and this never happens in any other medical procedure where you would do surgery that's
No, I
unwarranted.
don't disagree with you, Ali. I agree with you. I don't think that little boys should be circumcised, but it's not a security concern.
No. I know. That's not the parallel I'm drawing. I'm saying that when it comes to things like banning, I think that those kinds of things we can talk about a ban. When it comes to articles of clothing for adults, right? I know that a lot of people don't choose to wear it. I know some people do choose to wear it. I actually know someone personally who chose to wear it and still defends it. And when I just think that bans in the long term that does not mean I advocate for the burqa at all, but I just think overall blanket bans all the time for everything. Like, you can never do this, especially when it comes to articles of clothing and appearance. I personally
it's important to use nuance, though, because it's not that I disagree with what you're saying, because I do agree with what you're saying as a theoretical general rule. But I think that we can also use our, we can think about this a little bit differently and realize that this is a different situation. Now we're talking about safety concerns. And I know how much criminal activity happens in the Muslim world because of people wearing the niqab.
Right.
So
but
why are we inviting, in fact, in Qatar, for goodness sake, in Qatar, which is one of the most conservative countries in the Muslim countries in the world, they do have restrictions on the niqab. You're not allowed to wear niqab and go to the bank, for example. Why are we gonna go backwards? Those countries are like, let's progress and like limit the niqab. And
I actually think
over
that
here we're like, no, come on in, like start covering
I think
your
face. If you're a bus driver, if you're going into a bank, if you're doing anything like, the example that I give is Zunaira Ishaq, who took the citizenship oath, with the niqab on. And, by the way, Alishba and I also, my wife and I disagree on this too.
Would she have been able to wear a KKK hood when she went in to do her?
Well, see, that's what I said. And this is a problem. Like when it comes to, I'm a free expression absolutist, and it's actually terrible. I think that you have security at the entrance of the building when you come into the room. They take off your niqab. They make sure that you are who you are. They verify your identity. You walk in. They take off your KKK hood, verify who you are, whatever. And then you go in. You put your hood back on. Everybody knows who you are, and you take the oath. And I think, as ridiculous and insane as it sounds image-wise, I think that should be allowed. And this is just a matter of
I would be willing to concede to that if there were ways to verify identity and figure
that's
out who
the only
person is.
I'm not advocating in banks. In banks, I don't think the burqa should be allowed. In school buses, government buildings, if you're a teacher of kids, I don't think it should be allowed. I think in malls where security is soft, where there are security requirements, anything else, it should not be allowed.
I agree with you, but like I said, that's a logistical nightmare for the authorities to deal with what areas it's allowed and what areas it's not allowed.
No, but it's the same thing with, like, if you're walking into a bank, if you're walking into a movie theater, or if you're walking into a mall, and if I have like a really thick jacket and a big hoodie and stuff, and I walk in, I can have a bomb under there. I can have all these things, but there's no checks, right? So even that's a logistical nightmare. I mean, there are more people who've done that than they've done burqas. So I'm not saying that burqa is a great thing or that's a good thing. I'm just saying that when it comes to one of the last thing, I think one of the most important values that we have is our freedom of expression. I feel like we compromise and we give in to that when we we compromise on it, and I don't like the idea of us sort of compromising on any of our values when it comes to this stuff, especially when it comes to free expression. So it's a really, really tough topic, Yaz, because like I know I'm saying this to you, and I know what you've lived through and stuff.
I feel like I just want to put you in niqab. That's what I want to do. I want to put you in a niqab, and then I want to have a conversation with you after you've worn it for like a month. And then we'll have this conversation.
Hey, listen, yes, on that level, I completely agree with you. On that level, I 100%.
I have one logistical question. let's say there were 6 niqabis, even with the verification of the ID. Let's say you go into a mall, they verify your ID and stuff. Let's say there were 6 niqabis came to the mall. One of them committed a crime. How would you know which niqabis is the one committed the crime? If they all look like the fucking same. Just if you're a pure like security, because I did like once, like I had to do security for an event. But let's say, and we had to do the same. We had to ban every time of face covering, because if all the face covering look the same, let's say 6 people wear niqab, all the niqab looks the same, right? One of them committed a crime. What you should do? Should you arrest all the 6 niqabis, or should you? Because how would know? They all look the same thing. They all look the same thing. So like,
I get that, and I think that in those situations when it is a security thing, that's why I said regulation. I know it's a tough thing to regulate, but yeah.
But how? But I'll ask you to solve the problem. Let's say you come to a mall, everyone asks for ID, you verify. They have 6 niqabis. One of them committed a crime.
No, I heard you.
There's theoretical and there's practical. Faisal, you're talking practical, and Ali, you're talking theoretical. That's what's happening.
Yeah, but theoretical, I agree with you 100%. I'm just talking about how can we protect.
I think even I think when it comes to certain theoretical things, like when this is a lot of times my only worry is this is what a lot of leftists also say when they talk about college campuses and rhetorical speech. They're like, well, theoretically, yes, everybody should be allowed to have freedom of speech, right? But when you come out and you say things against black people, when you say things, if you call somebody who hates homosexuals and he comes out to a college campus and he talks about how homosexuals should not get any rights and so on, I believe that speech should be allowed. I believe hate speech should be fully allowed, right?
The speech is not violence, though, so there is a difference. So, like, remove the niqabis thing. 6 KKK members, 6 KKK members look the same. One of them committed a crime in the mall. How would you know who the KKK?
No, but if someone comes in,
though, Ali, answer his question though. What would you do?
That's my answer. My answer is that if one of them committed a crime, you'd go about it like any other investigation. You do the investigation, you detain all of them. You'd be like, okay, who committed the crime? What were they doing? They're wearing a burqa. How many people were wearing a burqa? 6 people wearing a burqa. Okay, all of you guys, you're under arrest. Now sit down. We do the interrogation. We do look for clues. We do the regular thing, and you find out who committed the crime. That's what you do with the people who commit crimes. There's people who commit crimes, and they fit certain descriptions. It's like, okay, there was a Middle Eastern man who's 6 foot tall, right? And nobody really knows anything else about him. There's no CCTV footage, so they basically get whoever the people were, and they look for it. That's criminal profiling. So that's my view, and we are going to disagree on this, and that's okay.
No, I mean, I'm not. I mean, I think that, like, theoretically, what you're saying. I mean, obviously, I am obviously a free speech absolutist and things of that sort. I mean, I obviously believe in that aspect, but also, like, on the real. I mean, just like, I mean, in theory, nobody should be profiled. Nobody should be stopped extra at the airport. Nobody should.
No, they should be. They should be.
Criminal profiling. Like, no one should be profiled based upon the race. Very amazing principle to have.
No, but we do that all the time, Faisal. We do we do profile on race. If there's a sniper who's out on the loose and nobody's really seen him, but someone says, okay, there's a description. He's a 5'4" Asian man, right? Then you're not going to be stopping, Amish women. You're going to be stopping Asian men. You will be racially profiling in that sense. Criminal law enforcement does it every day, right? You take common denominators.
But leftists who are like anti-racism or anti.
No, but that's not. If you have a suspect and he's described as a 5'4" Asian man, you're going to look for Asian men who are that height, right? That's not a racist thing. That's just profiling. That's basic criminal profiling. That's not racial profiling or anything, but it is based on race. So that is how law enforcement works. And then you gather circumstantial evidence. I mean, that's the whole idea. But
how much money you have to spend, and also bring the budgeting into it. How much money you have to spend dealing with all the burqa people and dealing with all the people with head face on like that is so much extra spending.
There's potentially a situation, since we're talking about hypotheticals, there is potentially a situation. Oh my God, Lalo's here.
What the fuck is Lalo doing?
He said he wants in on the conversation.
So there's potentially, Lalo, you can take over on me, because right after this, I got to go, but I'm going to say one last thing. sorry, one last thing. Faisal, there's potentially a situation where you could have, when you have 6 burqa people there, and if someone committed a crime, you don't know who did it. When someone says, oh, it was the person was wearing a burqa, you're like, oh, cool, we can narrow it down because there were only 6 people with a burqa. So you could have that situation too when you're talking about hypotheticals. It's just as probable, right? But now we're getting really off topic. And
can I just say? But can I say one thing? Because it's to Ali, so I don't want you to leave. But
okay, it's me.
I'll try to make it as short as possible. I think you shouldn't get too bogged down on like security issues, people robbing banks and things like that. I think it's much simpler. Piece of clothing that it's just like a mask that people are putting on for fun that they can take on and off, right? Mm-hmm. It's much more deeper than that, correct? It's something that once it's on,
ideological.
You can't just pull it on and off, correct? Like that's something with the niqab. You know this, Yaz, right? You can't. If you go outside, somebody can't just stop you and like pull off your niqab, right?
No.
It's a huge thing. Okay, so you have to think, Ali. Think of all the times you walk to anywhere, and all the necessity you need to show your face. If you buy certain like medication, you might need to show your face. If you go to the hospital, you might need to show your face. If you use your credit card, sometimes they have to check. And when I say your face, I mean they check your ID, and you have to match your ID to your face. If you're driving, you have to show your license, and you have to check your face.
I think that you should. I think you should.
But here's the thing: all those times in the day,
what's the point?
When you show that ID and you have to pull up your niqab, you know that when that moment comes, they're going to have a problem with it. They're going to say, no, even in this situation, I'm not going to pull it off because of religious freedom. It will get that far. It's not going to have this nice middle ground.
Speaking of theoretical and practical, that's not actually how, at least in the US, that's not how it works. If you go and you're being identified somewhere in the US, I don't know about Canada, I think, Yaz, you probably know better.
Imam Tawhidi is here. I wanted to apologize for the time. I will look forward to next time.
The party's just getting started. But what happens is in the US, you're required for driver's license photos, for security checks, to lift up and show your face. So that's what I mean by regulation. If you're going to wear the niqab and you're going to go around, then
Ali, I was stopped. I used to drive a vehicle with a niqab on. This was after I left my daughter's dad. But I still wasn't comfortable taking off my niqab because I was so used to wearing it. I felt like I was like topless if I took it off. So I was still wearing it even though I wasn't married to him anymore. And I would drive a vehicle with shitty peripheral vision, and I would drive shittily, and I would be stopped by the cops. And you know what? They wouldn't ask for me to lift up my face to see my ID.
That's because wrong. I disagree.
Of course it's wrong.
And
same thing. That woman that you sent, just
when that day comes, like
that woman that sent you the article, the interview that you had where she talked about she went in to do a university exam and they didn't ask her to show her face because they didn't want to be insensitive.
Imam Tawhidi is
listen, guys. So hold on. We're getting.
Imam Tawhidi is in the chat.
Yeah. We're getting.
Tawhidi, I'm getting worked up because they're talking about niqab and these guys don't know what they're talking about.
Your beard
can't beat mine, brother.
So let's.
We're still having the beard off.
So we're getting veered off in another. We're getting veered off in another direction. Yes, I'm not saying that this whole idea that either we should, if somebody's wearing a niqab, they should wear it all the time. We should not verify their security. That's what I mean by regulation. I think there's some places where you don't just take it off for security. You have to take the whole thing off. I think that is how we should deal with it.
But we don't deal with it.
I know they don't deal with it that way. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that in terms of a proposal, I don't think that people should be having a blank ban on any kind of.
But I just want you to think that when it comes to, you got to realize this by now. When it comes, especially to Islam, if you give an inch, they're just going to keep asking for more. It will, the sweet spot that you're proposing will never happen.
No. This is, I'm not looking at this from an Islamic lens. I'm looking at the burqa as another slippery slope. Another slippery slope that's not just from the Islamic and they're going to give an inch and they're going to want more and more and more. Whatever they want, they already have, they're able to do. Okay, because we have certain laws and everything in this country that do it, the political conversation aside. But The slippery slope over here is that if you are able to tell people what they can and cannot wear, okay, unless it's for security reasons. When it is a security reason, then that's fine. Then after that, you start going into other things.
Okay, but then at least in the situations, because you already talked about one situation where somebody's giving their citizenship oath. Mm-hmm. I think there should have been no exception at all. Not that she does it like later or there. No, the full way through, take it off. Okay, maybe it's not 24 hours a day that if they walk around the street that they have to have the niqab on. So there's not technically a niqab ban.
I told you, even me and my wife disagree on it. I think that if I was there, if I wanted to cover my face while I was doing the thing, I should be able to do it too. As long as my security and my identity have been verified, I should. I
respect your position, Ali.
Whatever the hell I want
to.
No, and I honestly, yes,
and I understand what you're saying. No, I really do. I get it. Just like I get.
And I get yours too.
Majid's position
This is a terrible thing to argue about because I am so fucking sympathetic to what you're saying and all this. The only thing is I'm not looking at this from an Islam lens. I'm looking at this from a civil liberties and free expression lens. So it depends on where you come from. If I was looking at it from there, I completely understand what Lalo's saying, and I get why I would think
but
that.
Just note that once it's a slippery slope. Once you start this, just like what happened in Sweden, what did you have? You had the soccer hooligans covering up their faces and saying, "I'm a Muslim. Thanks, niqabis, for the loophole." Just be aware that once you start this and you say it's okay for Muslim women, that you're allowing your whole population with all of the criminals that live in that country, you're giving them a loophole. And there's no way that you can say only female Muslims can cover their face, but the rest of the population can't.
I don't think we should say that. That's what I'm saying.
Say everybody is allowed to cover their face, whether you're walking into an elementary school, whether you're walking to a.
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm saying that they should not be allowed to cover their face when they walk into an elementary school or a bank or anything. That's what I mean by regulation, not ban. So regulation is. When you walk into an elementary school, when you walk into a public government building, any public government building, when you walk into any place that needs security, then
how did they have to wait? Imam Tawhidi says a Muslim lady in Saudi Arabia took her husband to court because he lifted her niqab and saw her face after 20 years of marriage and kids. How did she have kids with him?
The hole in the sheet. That's like the Orthodox Jews, how they do it. The hole in the sheet.
Please click on the link I sent you in Twitter. You got to join in and tell us how he's having children with this woman.
But I think this, though, Ali, I worry about the day. Look, there's various things here. So there's like full niqab ban 24 hours a day. And then there's just the moment where technically by law, they do have to pull up their veil. Like if they get stopped by the police when they're driving, right? Then, and you agree, like they have to pull that off. I worry about the day when it's going to come down to like
they should have pulled the entire thing off. If they're in a government building, they shouldn't be allowed to wear anything.
But I worry about the day that they're told to pull that off, and they say no, and it's either they're going to start giving exceptions because they don't want to be called Islamophobic, or they're going to arrest that niqabi, and then they're going to be called Islamophobic for arresting her. So the pushback has to be very firm.
Lilo, you're conflating two things. That's a separate issue, and that is a problem that we all agree on. That cops, when they're doing this, if they decide not to have her pull her because they pull her niqab off because they're afraid of being called Islamophobic or Islamophobia, right? And that's the title of one of the chapters of my book. I think that's a problem. That's a huge problem. That's a whole separate problem from whether somebody should be able to wear what they want when they leave the house. And then when they're in the car, they should be able to take it off. They have to take it off.
I would agree. Also, Yaz mentioned, right? I would say that, for example, if you just drive, you shouldn't be able to wear it.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Because that's a security issue. If you're driving, you shouldn't be wearing a fucking mask. I mean, that's clear.
But then there's going to be so many points, like if you go to the bank, if you're driving, if you're this and that, there's going to be so many points in your day where you can't wear it that they need to enforce.
We have laws for things that are even more complicated than that. We have laws for when it comes to enforced, we do. We have driving tests for. I mean, people who have people who have certain medical conditions like epilepsy, they can't drive. They go through all of these different criteria, and logistically, they're able to handle it, and it's worth it because civil liberties are important. Because freedom of expression is important. So if I'm looking at it from an Islam lens, I would see one slippery slope, what you're talking about. And I get that. I do understand it. But if I'm looking at it from the civil liberties lens, then I see another slippery slope. It's like, when you start putting bans, not
The
regulations.
slope right now is going down one way, though. I mean, we got people arguing that FGM is a cultural liberty.
Depends on where you're looking at it from. I think that if you're I'm with the right on this, actually. If you're on the right and you look at this, the slope when it comes to civil liberties, and especially for people who are free speech absolutists, right? There are crackdowns on hate speech. There's crackdowns like people who are the people want to ban Mein Kampf. People don't want to. They want to crack down. Like there's shit like that happening, right? So whenever there's, that to me is actually the most important thing. For me,
I gotta tell you something though. I just told Faisal this. We all got to start admitting what we do criticizing Islam is a right wing position. It sucks that it is. You can make arguments why it's left wing, but it is just right wing. That's where we're at.
You know what? Right now it's going to be right wing. 2 decades later, it'll be left wing. I've seen this happen all around.
2 decades, please.
Yeah, we're gonna.
But I mean, like,
old people.
communism was super left wing, right? So communism was super left wing, and the only country ever in history to have an atheist government, an official atheist government, not just no establishment religion, but officially an atheist government, was Albania, which was a Muslim majority country. That happened a very, very long time ago. So these things go in phases, left wing, right? I don't take the left wing or the right wing seriously. And I talked about this in the podcast. I don't think there's a left right anymore. I think there's an up down. There's people who benefited from the tech revolution. There's people who got left behind by it. And that is going to be your eventual politics. That's going to be your eventual economics.
I agree with you. Actually, I think left and right don't really mean what they do.
It is. There's a horizontal line. There's no vertical line anymore. So left wing, right wing. I don't know where I am on that. But when it comes to just certain things like free speech, religious freedom, lack of religious freedom from religion, all of those things, on those things I'm a lot more clear. And for me, that issue is much bigger than just Islam, right? It's a much bigger issue.
I almost finished a whole bottle.
So on that note, I'm gonna go, guys.
Okay.
I'm a dad.
Thank you, Ali.
Okay, so I gotta go. Thanks for joining in.
Faisal, you fell asleep at the end there. You get the last word.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys.
Ali, that's such a diss. I just said Faisal gets the last word, and you're like, fuck you and your last word. I'm not interested.
But is it just gonna be a word?
Yeah, we're just ending it. We're saying goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So for guys who are watching us, we're very sorry we get Imam Tawhidi. He's in the chat. Hopefully we can get him sometime later.
He's in the church.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
What did you say? What did you say? He's in the what? First of all, come closer to the mic. I can't hear you.
Oh man.
So, do you hear me?
He's in the chat.
This is accent shaming right here. This is accent shaming.
No, it's a distance shaming. I thought it was the zhazh, which means chicken.
It was yellowtail, Julian. It was red. Sweet red roux is my jam. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So.
Please continue, Faisal. I'm interrupting you all day today.
So hopefully we will get Imam Tawhidi in other episodes. I mean, there have been some miscommunication. Actually, it's Imam Tawhidi's fault. So let's get it straight. So it's your fault.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get that clear. From Shia to Shia.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna blame Yasmin. Yasmin is one of the best organizers we ever have. She's amazing. So it's your fault. We blame you. And hopefully we'll get you in a future episode. Our next episode we're gonna record, I think, next Wednesday or this Wednesday with what's her name? Marie Le Pen.
And Mary Waters.
Mary Waters. So
that was so funny.
We're gonna do a recording with her, and hopefully we're gonna talk about immigration, circumcision.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting
surgeries.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's gonna be interesting. So guys, stay in touch. Please review us on Twitter, review us on iTunes, review us on lesbian.com, whatever app that you use to listen to us. Please
leave us reviews.
So more people will listen to us. Hopefully we can make it on the top. I like being on top.
We like being on top.
So yeah. So please guys, keep us posted, send us your questions, and hopefully we're gonna see you again. God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Bye.
Happy Ramadan.